Welcome, friend, to this peaceful journey through the sands of time, where we'll uncover one of ancient Egypt's most fascinating and misunderstood chapters. Tonight, we travel back over 3,500 years to explore the remarkable story of the Hyksos, the mysterious foreign rulers who transformed Egypt forever. Whether you're settling in for the night or simply seeking to slow the pace of your evening, I'm grateful you're here with me on this ancient adventure. The year is approximately 1650 BCE, and the Great Pyramids of Giza already stand as thousand-year-old monuments to a glorious past. But Egypt, the land that has known prosperity and divine kingship for millennia, finds itself under the rule of foreign kings whose very names sound alien to Egyptian ears. These are the Hyksos, a people whose story challenges everything we think we know about ancient conquest and cultural exchange. Have you ever wondered how an entire civilization could be transformed not through violent destruction, but through gradual infiltration and adaptation? The answer lies in understanding how the Hyksos didn't simply conquer Egypt through brute force, but rather wove themselves into the very fabric of Egyptian society so skillfully that they became pharaohs while maintaining their distinct cultural identity. What I'm about to reveal will transform your understanding of how ancient civilizations interacted, traded, and influenced one another across vast distances. This isn't just a story of conquest and resistance. This is the tale of how innovation, adaptation, and cultural flexibility could determine the rise and fall of empires long before the modern world existed. Let me take you inside the daily life of Kian, one of the most powerful Hyksos rulers, as he awakens in his palace at Avaris on a warm morning in the Nile Delta. The first rays of sunlight filter through the reed curtains of his bedchamber, illuminating walls decorated with a fascinating blend of Egyptian hieroglyphs and Canaanite motifs that tell the story of two cultures learning to coexist. Kian's morning routine reflects the complex identity of these foreign pharaohs. As he rises from his bed, crafted in the traditional Egyptian style but inlaid with cedar wood from his ancestral homeland of Lebanon, servants approach carrying water in bronze vessels bearing both Egyptian sacred symbols and designs that speak of distant northern kingdoms. The king's first act is not the traditional Egyptian prayer to Ra, but rather a moment of quiet reflection that combines elements of both Egyptian solar worship and the storm god Baal of his ancestors. His personal scribe, an Egyptian named Amenhotep, who has served the Hyksos court for over a decade, approaches with the morning's correspondence. The documents reveal the remarkable administrative complexity of Hyksos rule. There are reports from Egyptian governors in the south who continue to manage their territories using traditional methods, letters from Canaanite merchants seeking trade agreements, and diplomatic communications from kingdoms as far away as Babylon and Anatolia. Kian reviews these documents while his servants prepare his morning meal, a fascinating fusion of cuisines that exemplifies Hyksos cultural adaptation. The bread is baked in the traditional Egyptian manner from emmer wheat grown in the fertile delta soil, but it's accompanied by olive oil imported from Canaan and honey cakes flavored with spices that arrived via trade routes the Hyksos had established with distant lands. The king drinks beer brewed according to Egyptian methods, but from barley varieties that his people had introduced from their northern homeland. As Kian breaks his fast, he discusses the day's agenda with his vizier, a remarkable man named Katie, whose very existence illustrates the complex social dynamics of Hyksos Egypt. Katie is ethnically Egyptian, but has risen to the highest administrative position under foreign rule, demonstrating how the Hyksos system rewarded competence regardless of ethnic origin. Their conversation flows seamlessly between Egyptian and a Semitic language, with technical terms borrowed from both traditions depending on the subject matter. The morning's first order of business involves reviewing construction projects in the capital city of Avaris. Unlike previous conquerors who might have destroyed existing monuments to assert their dominance, the Hyksos have chosen to build alongside Egyptian structures, creating a unique architectural landscape that reflects their syncretic approach to rule. Kian examines papyrus plans for a new temple complex that will honor both Egyptian deities and Canaanite gods, with architectural elements that draw from both traditions. The temple's design reveals the sophisticated theological thinking that characterized Hyksos rule. Rather than simply imposing their religious beliefs on Egyptian subjects, they had developed a complex system of religious correspondence where Canaanite deities were identified with Egyptian counterparts. The storm god Baal became associated with Seth, the Egyptian god of chaos and the desert, while Astarte found parallels with Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty. This wasn't mere political convenience, but reflected a genuine attempt to create a unified cosmology that could satisfy both Egyptian and foreign religious sensibilities. Mid-morning brings a session with Kian's military advisors, and here the revolutionary nature of Hyksos rule becomes most apparent. The meeting takes place in a courtyard where horse-drawn chariots stand ready for inspection, their bronze-reinforced wheels gleaming in the Egyptian sun. These vehicles represent perhaps the most significant technological innovation the Hyksos brought to Egypt, transforming not only military tactics, but the entire relationship between Egypt and its neighbors. General Sakir, himself of mixed Hyksos and Egyptian heritage, reports on training exercises conducted with these new weapons of war. The chariots, drawn by horses bred from stock originally brought from the northern steppes, had revolutionized battlefield mobility in a way that traditional Egyptian infantry tactics simply couldn't match. But the Hyksos innovation went beyond mere military hardware. The training exercises Sakir describes reveal a fundamental shift in military thinking. Traditional Egyptian warfare had relied heavily on mass infantry formations and the defensive advantages provided by the Nile's geography. The Hyksos introduced concepts of rapid mobility, coordinated cavalry charges, and the use of composite bows that could penetrate armor at previously impossible distances. These weren't just new tools, but represented entirely new ways of thinking about conflict and territorial control. Yet what makes Sakir's report particularly fascinating is how it demonstrates the Hyksos' ability to integrate Egyptian military traditions with their own innovations. Egyptian officers serve alongside Hyksos commanders, sharing knowledge and developing hybrid tactics that draw from both military traditions. The army that emerges from this fusion is more effective than either Egyptian or Hyksos forces had been independently, creating a military advantage that helps explain how a relatively small foreign population could maintain control over the much larger Egyptian population. As the morning progresses, Kian moves to his throne room for the day's judicial proceedings, where the complex legal framework of Hyksos Egypt reveals itself through individual cases and royal decisions. The throne room itself tells a story through its decoration. Egyptian royal regalia mingles with Canaanite symbols of authority, while the throne itself combines the traditional Egyptian pharaonic seat with design elements that speak to Hyksos concepts of kingship. The first case involves a dispute between an Egyptian merchant and a Canaanite trader over a shipment of copper from Cyprus. The complexity of the case illustrates how Hyksos rule had created new commercial opportunities and challenges. Egyptian merchants now traded regularly with kingdoms they had barely known during the Middle Kingdom, while foreign traders had established permanent communities within Egyptian cities. The legal framework needed to address these new realities required innovative approaches that respected both Egyptian legal traditions and the commercial practices the Hyksos had brought with them. Kian's judgment in this case demonstrates the pragmatic wisdom that characterized successful Hyksos administration. Rather than simply applying Egyptian law or imposing foreign legal concepts, he draws from both traditions to create a solution that satisfies the commercial needs of both parties while establishing precedents that will guide future similar cases. His decision reflects consultation with both Egyptian legal scholars and Canaanite commercial experts, creating a hybrid legal system that serves the complex needs of a multicultural kingdom. The second case proves even more revealing of daily life under Hyksos rule. A young Egyptian woman seeks the king's intervention in a marriage dispute with her Canaanite husband, raising questions about intermarriage, property rights, and cultural identity that had no clear precedent in traditional Egyptian law. The case illuminates how ordinary people navigated the cultural complexities of Hyksos, Egypt, adapting their personal lives to new possibilities and challenges. The woman's testimony reveals a society where cultural boundaries were fluid but not invisible. She had learned to speak her husband's language and had adopted certain Canaanite customs, but she maintained her Egyptian religious practices and expected her children to understand both cultural traditions. Her husband, meanwhile, had learned Egyptian religious rituals and participated in traditional Egyptian festivals, but maintained his ancestral dietary restrictions and business practices. Kian's approach to resolving this personal dispute reflects the broader Hyksos philosophy of cultural accommodation rather than assimilation. His judgment establishes principles that allow individuals to maintain distinct cultural identities while participating fully in a shared social system. The solution he proposes creates space for multiple traditions to coexist within single households, establishing legal precedents that will influence Egyptian society for generations. As midday approaches, the king's attention turns to economic matters that reveal the remarkable prosperity Hyksos rule had brought to Egypt. His treasurer, an elderly Egyptian named Sayesi, whose family had served pharaohs for generations, presents reports on trade revenues that exceed anything achieved during the previous dynasty. The numbers tell a story of economic transformation that goes far beyond simple political control. The trade networks that CC describes represent perhaps the most remarkable achievement of Hyksos administration. Where previous Egyptian kingdoms had maintained primarily local and regional trade relationships, the Hyksos had established commercial connections that stretched from Nubia in the south to Anatolia in the north, from the western desert to the kingdoms of Mesopotamia. These weren't simply opportunistic trading relationships, but carefully cultivated partnerships that had transformed Egypt into the central hub of an international commercial system. Caesar unfolds papyrus scrolls covered with hieroglyphic records that document the flow of goods through Egyptian ports and markets. Cedar wood from Lebanon arrives in massive shipments, destined for royal construction projects and the workshops of master craftsmen. Lapis lazuli from Afghanistan finds its way to Egyptian jewelry makers, while Egyptian gold flows northward to satisfy the demands of Canaanite and Mesopotamian rulers. Silver from Anatolia, copper from Cyprus, and tin from distant lands combine in Egyptian workshops to create bronze tools and weapons that surpass anything previously produced in the Nile Valley. But the treasure records reveal more than simple commercial success. They document a fundamental transformation in how Egyptians understood their place in the wider world. Under previous dynasties, Egypt had often viewed itself as a self-sufficient civilization that occasionally traded with less sophisticated neighbors. The Hyksos had demonstrated that Egypt's prosperity could be dramatically enhanced through active participation in international networks that treated all partners as valuable contributors to mutual success. The afternoon brings Kian to his private study, where he engages in scholarly pursuits that reveal another dimension of Hyksos cultural sophistication. Surrounded by scrolls written in multiple languages and scripts, he reviews historical chronicles that document not only his own reign, but the broader story of his people's integration into Egyptian society. These documents, maintained by both Egyptian and foreign scribes, represent an unprecedented attempt to create comprehensive historical records that acknowledge multiple perspectives on the same events. Among the scrolls are diplomatic archives that illuminate the complex international relationships the Hyksos had fostered during their rule. Letters from the kings of Babylon discuss astronomical observations and mathematical innovations, while correspondence with Canaanite city-states reveals detailed negotiations over trade routes and military alliances. Perhaps most remarkably, the archives contain communications with kingdoms in Anatolia and the Aegean that suggest the Hyksos had helped facilitate cultural and technological exchanges across vast distances. One particular scroll catches Khayan's attention this afternoon. It contains a report from Egyptian explorers who had travelled far beyond Egypt's traditional borders under Hyksos sponsorship, reaching lands that previous pharaohs had never imagined. The explorers describe encounters with peoples whose customs and technologies offer new possibilities for Egyptian development, while their detailed observations of foreign agricultural techniques and craft methods provide practical knowledge that can benefit Egyptian farmers and artisans. The king's scholarly interests extend beyond mere record-keeping to active intellectual engagement with the ideas and innovations his reign has encountered. He studies architectural plans that incorporate building techniques learned from foreign craftsmen, examines medical texts that combine Egyptian healing traditions with remedies discovered through international trade, and reviews mathematical calculations that draw from Mesopotamian computational methods to solve Egyptian engineering challenges. As evening approaches, Khayan joins his family for the day's final meal, and here the personal dimensions of Hyksos cultural adaptation become most apparent. His wife, Queen Tani, represents the sophisticated intermarriage policies that had helped stabilize Hyksos rule. Born to an Egyptian noble family, but raised in a household that welcomed Canaanite customs, she embodies the cultural synthesis that characterized the most successful aspects of foreign rule in Egypt. Their children, Prince Yanasi and Princess Heret, speak multiple languages fluently and move seamlessly between Egyptian and Canaanite cultural practices. Prince Yanasi demonstrates skill with both traditional Egyptian board games and foreign strategic games that require different types of thinking and planning. Princess Heret shows equal facility with Egyptian religious rituals and the ceremonies associated with Canaanite deities, understanding both as complementary rather than competing spiritual traditions. The family's evening conversation reveals how thoroughly the Hyksos had integrated intellectual and cultural elements from across the ancient world into their daily lives. They discuss philosophical questions that draw from Egyptian wisdom literature and Mesopotamian ethical traditions, debate practical problems using analytical methods learned from multiple cultural sources, and plan family activities that honor both Egyptian seasonal festivals and celebrations associated with their ancestral homeland. The meal itself continues the pattern of cultural fusion that characterizes all aspects of Hyksos life. Fish from the Nile is prepared with spices that arrived through trade networks established by Hyksos merchants, vegetables grown in Egyptian soil using agricultural techniques learned from foreign farmers, and fruits imported from distant orchards that most Egyptians had never seen. Wine from local vineyards mingles with beverages that reflect northern brewing traditions, creating a cuisine that satisfies both Egyptian and foreign palates. After the family meal, Khayan takes his customary evening walk through the palace gardens, where the landscaping itself tells the story of Hyksos cultural adaptation. Egyptian lotus pools are surrounded by flowering plants from Canaan and Syria, while fruit trees from various Mediterranean regions provide shade for walkways designed according to both Egyptian and foreign architectural principles. The gardens represent a living symbol of how different cultural traditions can enhance rather than diminish each other when thoughtfully combined. During this peaceful evening stroll, the king often encounters palace servants and minor officials who represent the broader Egyptian population's experience under Hyksos rule. These conversations reveal that ordinary Egyptians have generally prospered under foreign leadership, benefiting from expanded trade opportunities, innovative technologies, and administrative systems that often prove more efficient and fair than previous Egyptian methods. A palace gardener named Khaimwaset shares his observations about new agricultural techniques that Hyksos specialists have introduced to Egyptian farming. These methods, adapted from the different climate and soil conditions of Canaan, have nonetheless proved remarkably effective in Egyptian conditions, increasing crop yields and reducing the labor required for successful cultivation. The gardener's enthusiasm for these innovations reflects a broader Egyptian appreciation for practical improvements that enhance daily life, regardless of their foreign origins. A young scribe named Amenemheb describes his education in the expanded curriculum that Hyksos administrators have established for Egyptian students. In addition to traditional Egyptian subjects like hieroglyphic writing and religious instruction, students now learn foreign languages, international commercial practices, and technological skills that prepare them for careers in the increasingly complex and cosmopolitan world that Hyksos rule has created. Rather than feeling that their Egyptian identity is threatened by this broader education, most students appreciate the expanded opportunities it provides. As night falls over the Delta, Khayan returns to his private chambers for the evening rituals that conclude each day of his reign. These ceremonies blend Egyptian royal traditions with personal practices that honor his ancestral heritage, creating a spiritual routine that satisfies both his role as pharaoh and his identity as a member of the Hyksos people. The king offers prayers to Egyptian deities who protect the land and its people, while also acknowledging the gods of his fathers who have guided his people's journey to their new home in Egypt. The evening's final activity involves reviewing reports from Egyptian provincial governors who continue to administer traditional Egyptian territories under Hyksos oversight. These documents reveal that Egyptian local administration has largely continued unchanged under foreign rule, with traditional Egyptian officials maintaining their positions and responsibilities, while adapting to new opportunities and expectations created by Hyksos innovations. The reports describe Egyptian communities that have embraced many aspects of the cultural and technological changes brought by Hyksos rule, while maintaining their fundamental Egyptian character and identity. Local festivals continue to honor traditional Egyptian deities. Egyptian artistic traditions flourish with new influences and inspirations, and Egyptian family and social structures adapt to accommodate new possibilities without abandoning their essential characteristics. As Khayan prepares for sleep, he reflects on the remarkable experiment in cultural coexistence that his reign represents. The Hyksos have demonstrated that foreign rule need not mean cultural destruction or forced assimilation, but can instead create opportunities for mutual enrichment and shared prosperity. Their success in Egypt has depended not on military domination alone, but on their willingness to learn from Egyptian civilization while contributing their own knowledge and capabilities to the shared enterprise of effective governance. The king's bedchamber, where we began our journey through his day, contains artifacts and decorations that summarize the cultural synthesis he represents. Egyptian royal regalia rests alongside ceremonial objects from his ancestral homeland, while the room's decoration combines artistic motifs from both traditions in ways that create something entirely new yet respectful of both sources. Tonight, as we settle deeper into this ancient world, let me transport you to the bustling marketplaces of Avaris, where the remarkable story of Hyksos innovation unfolds through the lives of ordinary people whose daily experiences were transformed by foreign rule. The morning sun illuminates scenes that would have been impossible just generations earlier, revealing how completely the Hyksos had revolutionized Egyptian society. In the textile quarter, an elderly Egyptian weaver named Nefertiti works alongside her apprentice, a young Canaanite woman called Asherah, their fingers dancing across looms that represent a perfect fusion of technological traditions. The loom itself tells a story of cultural exchange. Its basic wooden frame follows traditional Egyptian design, but the tensioning mechanisms and thread guides incorporate innovations that Asherah's people brought from the northern kingdoms. The result is a device capable of producing fabrics with patterns and textures that neither culture could have achieved independently. Nefertiti's morning begins before dawn as she prepares the day's materials. The threads she selects represent the global reach of Hyksos trade networks. Egyptian linen, renowned throughout the ancient world for its quality, mingles with wool imported from Anatolian shepherds whose flocks graze on distant mountainsides. Silk threads, precious beyond measure, have arrived through trade routes that stretch to the edges of the known world, while dyes extracted from murex shells and exotic plants create color possibilities that previous generations of Egyptian weavers could never have imagined. As Asherah arrives for the day's work, their conversation flows naturally between languages, each woman switching between Egyptian and Semitic tongues depending on which language best expresses particular concepts or emotions. They discuss not only the technical aspects of their craft, but also the cultural meanings embedded in the patterns they create. Some designs honor traditional Egyptian deities, while others incorporate Canaanite symbols that speak to different spiritual traditions. Most remarkably, they have begun developing entirely new patterns that blend elements from both cultures, creating artistic expressions that could only emerge from their unique historical moment. The morning's first commission comes from a wealthy merchant family preparing for a wedding that exemplifies the complex social dynamics of Hyksos, Egypt. The bride is Egyptian, daughter of a prosperous grain dealer whose family has served the pharaohs for generations. The groom is Canaanite, son of a bronze-working family that arrived in Egypt during the early years of Hyksos rule. Their wedding garments must satisfy the ceremonial requirements of both traditions, while creating something beautiful and meaningful for a couple whose very union represents the cultural synthesis that defines their era. Nefertiti and Asherah spend hours discussing the symbolic implications of different design elements. Egyptian lotus patterns must be balanced with Canaanite tree of life motifs, while colors sacred to Hathor need to harmonize with hues that honor Astarte. The challenge isn't simply aesthetic, but deeply spiritual and cultural, requiring the weavers to understand both traditions well enough to create something that honors each while transcending their individual limitations. As they work, other artisans arrive at the workshop, transforming the space into a microcosm of Hyksos, Egypt's cultural diversity. Keti, a master goldsmith whose techniques combine Egyptian metalworking traditions with Mesopotamian innovations, brings jewelry components that will complement the wedding garments. His workshop has become famous throughout the region for creating pieces that satisfy the aesthetic sensibilities of multiple cultures simultaneously. Keti's morning routine reveals the technological revolution that Hyksos rule had fostered throughout Egyptian society. His tools include traditional Egyptian hammers and anvils, but also specialized implements that reflect metallurgical knowledge gathered from across the ancient world. Furnaces designed according to Hittite principles achieve temperatures that Egyptian smiths had previously thought impossible, while alloy recipes learned from Cypriot bronze workers create metals with properties that surpass anything produced by either culture independently. The goldsmith's current project involves creating a ceremonial dagger for a Hyksos noble, whose son is being initiated into the royal guard. The weapon must function according to military specifications that reflect the latest innovations in warfare technology, but its decoration needs to satisfy complex symbolic requirements that honor both the family's Canaanite heritage and their adopted Egyptian identity. The blade itself represents the pinnacle of metallurgical achievement, forged from steel whose composition reflects knowledge gathered from smiths across the known world. Keti works with quiet concentration, his movements reflecting decades of experience with techniques that would have been unknown to his grandfather's generation. The inlay work he performs combines Egyptian hieroglyphic symbols with Canaanite script, creating inscriptions that tell the weapon's story in multiple languages while invoking protection from deities honored by both cultures. Gold leaf applied according to Egyptian methods mingles with silver details that reflect northern decorative traditions, producing an artifact that could only have been created during this unique period of cultural fusion. Nearby, the morning's activities draw the attention of Seneb, a young Egyptian scribe whose education represents the intellectual revolution that Hyksos administration had brought to Egyptian society. Unlike his predecessors, who learned only hieroglyphic writing and traditional Egyptian subjects, Seneb's training includes multiple writing systems, foreign languages, and mathematical techniques that reflect the international scope of Hyksos governance. Seneb's morning assignment involves translating commercial contracts between Egyptian farmers and Nubian traders, documents that illustrate how Hyksos rule had expanded Egyptian economic opportunities in previously unimaginable directions. The contracts must be precise in multiple languages, accounting for different legal traditions and commercial practices, while ensuring that all parties understand their obligations and benefits clearly. The translation work requires Seneb to navigate complex linguistic and cultural territories. Egyptian concepts of land ownership must be expressed in ways that Nubian traders can understand and accept, while Nubian trading customs need to be explained to Egyptian farmers who have never encountered such practices. The resulting documents represent more than simple commercial agreements. They are artifacts of cultural translation that enable different peoples to work together despite their distinct traditions and assumptions. As Seneb works through these translations, he frequently consults reference materials that would have been unavailable to Egyptian scribes just decades earlier. Lexicons that explain foreign terminology, maps that detail trade routes extending far beyond Egypt's borders, and legal precedents drawn from multiple cultural traditions provide the knowledge foundation that enables him to perform his sophisticated duties effectively. The young scribe's work attracts the attention of visiting merchants from various kingdoms who have come to Avaris seeking trading opportunities. These men represent the international networks that Hyksos diplomacy had created, bringing goods and ideas from regions that most Egyptians still consider mythical or impossibly distant. Among them is Labana, a Hittite merchant whose presence in Egypt illustrates the remarkable diplomatic achievements of Hyksos foreign policy. His people control territories in Anatolia, where ironworking techniques have reached levels of sophistication that surpass anything known in Egypt. But he has traveled to the Nile Delta because Hyksos administrators have convinced him that Egyptian markets offer opportunities worth the dangerous journey. Labana's morning in Avaris begins with meetings at the commercial registry where foreign merchants must document their activities and obtain permits for various trading activities. The bureaucratic procedures he encounters reflect the administrative sophistication that Hyksos rule has brought to Egyptian governance. Forms must be completed in multiple languages, fees calculated according to complex formulas that account for the origins of goods and their intended destinations, and security arrangements established to protect valuable merchandise during its stay in Egyptian territory. The merchants' interactions with Egyptian officials reveal how thoroughly the Hyksos have professionalized their administrative systems. The registry clerk who processes his applications is an Egyptian woman named Isis, whose training includes not only traditional Egyptian bureaucratic procedures, but also international commercial law and diplomatic protocols. She speaks Hittite well enough to conduct business negotiations, while her knowledge of foreign customs enables her to anticipate and resolve potential misunderstandings before they become serious problems. Isis explains the various trading opportunities that Avaris markets provide, describing established relationships with merchants from kingdoms that span the ancient world. Her knowledge reflects the systematic intelligence gathering that Hyksos administrators conduct to maintain their commercial advantages. She knows which goods are currently in high demand, which trade routes offer the best security and efficiency, and which local artisans might be interested in foreign techniques or materials. The morning's commercial discussions reveal the sophisticated financial instruments that Hyksos rule has introduced to Egyptian markets. Letters of credit issued by established merchants enable transactions across vast distances, while standardized weights and measures facilitate trade between peoples whose traditional systems had been incompatible. Currency exchange rates are calculated according to formulas that account for the relative values of different metals and the current supply and demand conditions in various markets. As the morning progresses, Labana visits workshops where Egyptian artisans work with materials and techniques that reflect the technological exchanges fostered by Hyksos international networks. In one establishment, Egyptian jewelers experiment with ironworking methods that the merchant has demonstrated, adapting techniques developed for military applications to create decorative objects that combine functionality with beauty. The workshop's master craftsman, a middle-aged Egyptian named Ptahhotep, demonstrates the intellectual curiosity that characterizes many Egyptians' responses to foreign innovations. Rather than viewing new techniques as threats to traditional methods, he approaches them as opportunities to expand his capabilities and create works that surpass anything possible, using only inherited knowledge. His enthusiasm for experimentation reflects a broader cultural confidence that enables Egyptians to adopt foreign innovations while maintaining their fundamental identity and values. Ptahhotep's current project involves creating a ceremonial breastplate for a Hyksos military commander, whose unit includes both Egyptian and foreign soldiers. The piece must satisfy complex functional requirements while incorporating decorative elements that honor multiple cultural traditions. Egyptian protective symbols must be balanced with Canaanite military motifs, while the metalworking techniques combine traditional Egyptian methods with innovations learned from foreign specialists. The afternoon brings changes to the workshop's atmosphere as word spreads through Avaris about diplomatic developments that could affect the kingdom's future. Messengers have arrived from the south bearing news that Egyptian princes in Thebes are organizing resistance to Hyksos rule, threatening the peaceful coexistence that has characterized the Delta region for generations. The news creates complex emotions among the workshop's inhabitants. Ptahhotep and his Egyptian apprentices feel torn between ethnic loyalty and practical appreciation for the prosperity that Hyksos rule has brought to their lives. The foreign artisans who work alongside them worry about their security and their families' futures if political conditions change dramatically. Even Labana, as a foreign visitor, recognizes that any disruption to Hyksos authority could threaten the commercial relationships that have made his journey profitable. These concerns prompt discussions that reveal the depth of cultural integration that has occurred during the Hyksos period. Egyptian and foreign workers debate political questions using analytical frameworks that draw from multiple intellectual traditions, while their personal relationships transcend ethnic boundaries in ways that would have been impossible just decades earlier. Young Egyptians who have grown up under Hyksos rule find themselves defending foreign innovations against criticism from older relatives who remember pre-Hyksos conditions, while foreign residents who have made Egypt their home discover unexpected loyalty to their adopted country's welfare. The political tensions also highlight the remarkable achievements that Hyksos administration has accomplished during their rule over Egypt. The prosperity that workshop inhabitants fear losing, the cultural opportunities they value, and the international connections they have developed all represent innovations that have enhanced Egyptian civilization, while respecting its fundamental character and traditions. As evening approaches, the workshop's activities wind down, but the conversations continue in nearby taverns and gathering places where people from different backgrounds share concerns about their common future. These discussions reveal how thoroughly the Hyksos experiment in multicultural governance has succeeded in creating shared interests and mutual dependencies among peoples who arrived in Egypt with very different backgrounds and expectations. The tavern conversations also illuminate the sophisticated political understanding that ordinary people have developed during the Hyksos period. Egyptian farmers debate military strategy with former Canaanite soldiers, while foreign merchants discuss Egyptian religious concepts with native priests. The quality of these discussions reflects educational and cultural developments that have expanded intellectual horizons far beyond what previous generations could have imagined. In one corner of the tavern, an elderly Egyptian storyteller named Katie entertains a mixed audience with tales that blend traditional Egyptian mythology with foreign narrative elements. His stories reflect the cultural synthesis that has emerged during Hyksos rule, creating new forms of artistic expression that satisfy audiences whose cultural backgrounds span the ancient world. The storyteller's technique adapts traditional Egyptian narrative structures to incorporate plot elements and character types drawn from Canaanite, Mesopotamian, and other foreign traditions. The evening's entertainment also includes musical performances that exemplify the artistic innovations fostered by cultural exchange. Egyptian musicians play instruments introduced by foreign settlers, while foreign performers adapt their traditional songs to Egyptian musical scales and rhythmic patterns. The resulting compositions create new forms of beauty that could only emerge from the unique historical circumstances that define their era. As night deepens over Avaris, The city's inhabitants retire to homes that reflect the architectural innovations introduced during Hyksos rule. Egyptian building techniques combine with foreign structural concepts to create dwellings that offer improved comfort and functionality while maintaining aesthetic characteristics that satisfy traditional Egyptian sensibilities. Courtyards designed according to Canaanite principles provide better air circulation during Egypt's hot summers, while storage systems adapted from northern building traditions offer more efficient organization of household goods and supplies. The residential architecture also reveals how thoroughly Hyksos rule has transformed social relationships within Egyptian society. Houses designed to accommodate extended families that include members from different cultural backgrounds reflect new forms of kinship and community that transcend traditional ethnic boundaries. Shared courtyards and communal spaces facilitate interactions between neighbors whose ancestors would never have encountered each other, creating new forms of social solidarity that strengthen the kingdom's overall stability and cohesion. The domestic spaces where these transformed Egyptian families settle for the night contain artifacts that tell stories of remarkable adaptation and mutual enrichment. In the home of Jehuti, a middle-aged Egyptian administrator who has married Anat, a Canaanite woman whose family arrived during the early years of Hyksos settlement, the evening meal preparation reveals the daily reality of cultural fusion that has become commonplace throughout the Delta region. Anat's kitchen combines Egyptian cooking methods with culinary traditions from her homeland, creating meals that satisfy both her husband's familiar tastes and her own cultural preferences. The grinding stones she uses to prepare grain follow traditional Egyptian designs, but the spices she incorporates arrive through trade networks that her Canaanite relatives help maintain. Garlic and coriander from Syrian gardens enhance Egyptian bread recipes, while techniques for preserving meat learned from nomadic peoples enable her family to maintain food security during seasonal variations that affect agricultural production. Their children, teenage Thutmose and young Senet, represent the generation that will inherit the transformed Egypt that Hyksos rule is creating. Thutmose speaks Egyptian, Canaanite, and enough Akkadian to communicate with Mesopotamian traders who frequent his father's administrative office. His education includes traditional Egyptian subjects like mathematics and religious instruction, but also encompasses foreign languages, international commercial practices, and military techniques that reflect the expanded opportunities available to young Egyptians during this period. The boy's evening activities reveal how completely his generation has adapted to multicultural realities. He practices writing exercises that include hieroglyphic texts, alongside cuneiform tablets, developing literacy skills that will enable him to participate in the international diplomatic and commercial networks that define Hyksos Egypt. His mathematical studies combine Egyptian computational methods with Mesopotamian techniques that offer solutions to engineering and architectural problems that single cultural traditions cannot address effectively. Young Senet demonstrates similar adaptability in her own educational pursuits. Her training in textile production incorporates both Egyptian weaving traditions and foreign techniques that enable her to create fabrics with patterns and qualities that represent genuine innovations. She learns songs in multiple languages, understands religious ceremonies from various traditions, and develops social skills that enable her to interact comfortably with people from diverse cultural backgrounds. The evening's family discussions reveal how Hyksos rule has transformed Egyptian intellectual life at the most fundamental levels. Jehuti and Anat debate political questions using analytical methods that draw from multiple philosophical traditions, while their consideration of practical family decisions reflects exposure to different approaches to problem-solving and decision-making. Their conversations about their children's futures assume opportunities that would have been unimaginable during previous Egyptian dynasties. When the family gathers for evening prayers, their religious observances reflect the theological synthesis that has emerged under Hyksos rule. They offer thanks to Egyptian deities who protect their household and ensure agricultural prosperity, while also acknowledging Canaanite gods who watch over travelers and merchants. Their prayers reflect genuine spiritual integration rather than mere diplomatic accommodation, creating religious experiences that satisfy their complex cultural identities. After the children retire to their sleeping quarters, Jehuti and Anat spend quiet evening hours discussing administrative challenges that illustrate the sophisticated governmental systems that Hyksos rule has created. Jehuti's work involves coordinating between traditional Egyptian provincial authorities and the newer international networks that Hyksos diplomacy has established. His responsibilities require him to understand not only Egyptian law and custom, but also foreign legal traditions and commercial practices that affect his administrative decisions. The documents Jehuti reviews during these evening work sessions reveal the remarkable scope of Hyksos governmental innovation. Tax records reflect new revenue sources created through expanded international trade, while legal precedents establish procedures for resolving disputes that involve multiple cultural traditions and legal systems. Diplomatic correspondence demonstrates the sophisticated intelligence networks that Hyksos administrators maintain to monitor political developments throughout the ancient world. Anat contributes to these evening discussions from her perspective as someone who maintains connections with Canaanite communities throughout the region. Her knowledge of foreign customs and languages enables her to interpret communications and events that might otherwise confuse Egyptian officials unfamiliar with international developments. Her insights help Jehuti understand the broader context of administrative decisions and their potential implications for local communities. Their conversations also reveal the personal dimensions of cultural adaptation that affect all residents of Hyksos, Egypt. Both husband and wife have had to learn new ways of thinking about identity, loyalty, and community belonging that transcend the simpler ethnic categories that defined previous generations. Their marriage represents not just personal affection, but also a conscious choice to participate in the cultural synthesis that defines their historical moment. As the evening progresses, neighbors arrive for informal social gatherings that have become common throughout Avaris during the Hyksos period. These gatherings bring together Egyptian and foreign families for conversations and entertainment that reflect the social integration that has emerged under foreign rule. The participants discuss current events, share knowledge about various subjects, and develop personal relationships that strengthen the community bonds essential for political stability. Among the evening's visitors is Senebke, an Egyptian merchant whose trading activities have expanded dramatically during the Hyksos period. His business now includes regular commerce with kingdoms that previous generations of Egyptian merchants had considered impossibly remote and exotic. His evening stories describe encounters with peoples whose customs and technologies offer continuous learning opportunities for anyone willing to adapt and innovate. Senebke's trading partner, a Canaanite merchant named Reshep, contributes his own perspectives on the commercial opportunities that Hyksos rule has created throughout the region. His family's business has prospered through careful attention to the cultural sensitivities that affect international commerce, while their success demonstrates how foreign settlers can contribute to Egyptian prosperity without threatening traditional Egyptian interests. The merchant partners discuss specific examples of successful cultural adaptation that illustrate broader patterns of innovation and cooperation. They describe Egyptian artisans who have learned foreign techniques that enable them to create products with enhanced quality and market appeal, while foreign craftsmen have adapted their traditional skills to Egyptian materials and aesthetic preferences. These individual success stories reflect systematic approaches to cultural exchange that benefit all participants. Their conversation also addresses the political tensions that threaten the stability and prosperity that Hyksos rule has created. Both merchants understand that their commercial success depends on continued peaceful coexistence between Egyptian and foreign populations, while any return to ethnic conflict could destroy the international networks that have made their prosperity possible. Their concern about political developments reflects broader anxieties among people whose lives have been enhanced by cultural integration. The evening's discussions include detailed analysis of the military situation developing in southern Egypt, where Theban princes are organizing resistance to Hyksos authority. The merchants' perspectives on these developments reflect sophisticated understanding of both political and economic factors that could influence the conflict's outcome. Their analysis draws from intelligence gathered through their commercial networks and their personal relationships with people throughout the region. Senebkai describes reports from Egyptian traders who have visited Theban territories, bringing information about military preparations and political sentiment among populations that remain under traditional Egyptian rule. These accounts suggest that southern Egyptians view Hyksos rule with suspicion and resentment that could fuel sustained resistance efforts, while their leaders possess military capabilities that could pose serious challenges to foreign authority. Reshep contributes intelligence gathered through Canaanite networks that maintain connections with peoples throughout the Levant and beyond. His sources describe foreign military advisors who have arrived in Theban territories, bringing weapons and tactical knowledge that could enhance Egyptian resistance capabilities. These developments suggest that the conflict could involve not just domestic political rivalries, but also international alliances that complicate any military resolution. The merchant's analysis reveals the sophisticated intelligence-gathering capabilities that commercial networks provide to Hyksos administrators. Traders who travel throughout the ancient world observe political and military developments that could affect Egyptian security, while their personal relationships with people from various backgrounds provide information that formal diplomatic channels might not detect. This commercial intelligence supplements official intelligence services and contributes to the comprehensive understanding that effective governance requires. As the evening gathering continues, other participants contribute their own perspectives on current developments and their potential implications. Kamwaset, an Egyptian priest whose temple has incorporated certain Canaanite religious elements, describes theological discussions that address questions about divine approval for foreign rule in Egypt. His observations reveal ongoing religious debates that could influence popular support for either Hyksos authority or Egyptian resistance movements. The priest explains how traditional Egyptian religious concepts have been reinterpreted during the Hyksos period to accommodate new political realities, while maintaining spiritual continuity with ancestral traditions. These theological adaptations enable Egyptian priests to serve foreign rulers without compromising their religious integrity, while also providing spiritual justification for the cultural innovations that have enhanced Egyptian civilization during this period. Kamwaset's temple experiences also illuminate the practical challenges that religious institutions face during periods of cultural change. His congregation includes both Egyptian and foreign worshippers, whose spiritual needs require services that honor multiple religious traditions while maintaining coherent theological messages. The solutions he has developed reflect broader patterns of cultural synthesis that characterize successful adaptation throughout Hyksos, Egypt. The priest's concerns about potential political changes reflect understanding that religious institutions could be particularly vulnerable during any restoration of traditional Egyptian rule. Temples that have incorporated foreign elements might face criticism or persecution from Egyptian leaders seeking to eliminate Hyksos influences, while priests who have served foreign rulers could find their positions threatened by political changes that prioritize ethnic loyalty over administrative competence. These religious considerations add another dimension to the evening's political discussions, as participants recognize that cultural and spiritual issues could prove as important as military factors in determining the outcome of developing conflicts. The success that Hyksos rule has achieved in creating religious synthesis could either strengthen foreign authority by demonstrating divine approval, or provide targets for Egyptian resistance movements seeking to mobilize popular opposition. The gathering's atmosphere grows more contemplative as participants consider the broader historical significance of the period they are living through. Many recognize that they are witnessing and participating in cultural developments that could influence Egyptian civilization for generations to come, while the political tensions currently emerging could determine whether these innovations survive or disappear with the foreign dynasty that created them. Djibouti reflects on the administrative reforms that have improved governmental efficiency and effectiveness during his career under Hyksos rule. His experience demonstrates how foreign innovations can enhance traditional Egyptian institutions while preserving their essential characteristics and functions. The question that concerns him is whether these improvements can survive political changes that might prioritize ethnic considerations over practical effectiveness. Anat shares her observations about the social changes that have created new opportunities for women and foreign residents during the Hyksos period. Her own life exemplifies possibilities that would have been unavailable to previous generations, while her children represent the potential for continued cultural development if current conditions can be maintained. Her concerns focus on protecting the social progress that has emerged from cultural integration. As the evening concludes, participants recognize that their gathering itself represents the social innovations that define their historical moment. The ability of people from different backgrounds to meet as equals, share concerns about common challenges, and develop cooperative approaches to complex problems reflects achievements that transcend simple political or military considerations. The conversations that have filled their evening demonstrate the intellectual sophistication that has emerged from cultural exchange, while the personal relationships that have developed among participants illustrate the social capital that effective multicultural societies require. These achievements represent genuine progress that could be lost if political developments prioritize ethnic conflict over cooperative problem solving. When the guests finally depart for their own homes, Djibouti and Anat spend quiet moments reflecting on the uncertain future that faces their family and their community. Their evening's discussions have clarified the stakes involved in current political developments, while their personal experiences provide evidence of the benefits that cultural integration has created for ordinary people throughout Hyksos, Egypt. Their final conversations before sleep focus on practical preparations that might be necessary if political conditions deteriorate, while also acknowledging the hope that wisdom and mutual benefit will prevail over ethnic prejudice and military confrontation. Their plans for their children's education and their own professional activities assume continued stability, while also considering adaptations that might be necessary during less favorable circumstances. The house grows quiet as family members settle into sleep patterns that reflect the security and prosperity that have characterized their lives under Hyksos rule. Their dreams carry hopes for continued peace and progress, while their unconscious minds process the complex realities of living through a period of remarkable cultural innovation that faces uncertain political challenges. Throughout Avaris, similar scenes unfold in homes that represent the social synthesis achieved during decades of successful foreign rule in Egypt. Families that include members from multiple cultural backgrounds settle into evening routines that honor various traditions, while creating new forms of domestic life that could only emerge from their unique historical circumstances. The city's night sounds include languages from across the ancient world, while the aromas that drift from kitchen windows reflect culinary traditions that span continents and cultures. These sensory experiences provide daily reminders of the international connections and cultural richness that Hyksos rule has brought to Egyptian society. Palace guards who patrol the city's streets during night hours include both Egyptian and foreign soldiers, whose cooperation demonstrates the military integration that has helped maintain stability and security throughout the Delta region. Their conversations during long night watches reveal personal friendships that transcend ethnic boundaries, while professional relationships that reflect shared commitment to protecting the multicultural society they serve. The guards' observations during their patrols provide regular intelligence about public sentiment and potential security concerns that could affect governmental stability. Their reports describe communities that generally remain satisfied with current conditions, while expressing varying degrees of concern about political developments that could threaten the prosperity and cultural opportunities they have come to value. In the harbour district, night activities continue as international merchants and ship crews maintain the commercial operations that sustain Hyksos, Egypt's economic prosperity. Workers who load and unload vessels carrying goods from across the ancient world represent the labour force that makes international commerce possible, while their multicultural composition reflects the social integration that has emerged throughout Egyptian society. The harbour's night sounds include work songs in multiple languages, while the coordination required for complex loading operations demonstrates the practical cooperation that economic necessity has fostered among people from diverse backgrounds. These activities continue regardless of political tensions elsewhere, reflecting the economic momentum that Hyksos innovations have created. Warehouse supervisors who oversee nighttime operations possess detailed knowledge of international trade patterns and commercial relationships that extend far beyond Egypt's borders. Their work requires understanding of foreign languages, customs regulations, and quality standards that reflect the sophisticated commercial systems that Hyksos administration has established. The goods that move through Avaris harbour during these night hours represent the global reach of trade networks that have transformed Egyptian economic life during the foreign dynasty's rule. Raw materials from distant lands combine with Egyptian products to create manufactured goods that serve markets throughout the ancient world, while the profits generated by these activities support the governmental and military systems that maintain regional stability. As dawn approaches, the harbour district prepares for another day of intensive commercial activity that will continue the economic processes that have made Hyksos, Egypt, one of the ancient world's most prosperous and influential kingdoms. The success of these operations depends on continued political stability and international cooperation that current tensions could potentially threaten. Throughout the sleeping city, dreams and unconscious thoughts process the complex realities of life during a period of remarkable cultural achievement that faces uncertain political challenges. The innovations and adaptations that have defined daily life during Hyksos rule have created new forms of human possibility that participants hope can survive whatever political changes the future might bring. The night sky above Avaris contains the same stars that have witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations throughout human history, while the cultural synthesis achieved during this particular historical moment represents humanity's endless capacity for adaptation, innovation, and mutual enrichment when different peoples choose cooperation over conflict. The first light of dawn breaks over the Nile as fishing boats emerge from the reedy marshlands, their crews calling to each other in the mixed languages that have become the soundtrack of everyday life along Egypt's transformed waterways. These fishermen, both Egyptian and Canaanite, represent the countless ordinary people whose daily routines have been quietly revolutionized by the cultural currents flowing through Hyksos, Egypt. Aboard the lead vessel, an experienced Egyptian fisherman named Amenhotep works alongside his partner Baal-Zephon, a Canaanite whose knowledge of different fishing techniques has dramatically improved their daily catch. Their partnership began 3 years ago when administrative reforms encouraged such collaborations, and now their combined skills have made them among the most successful fishing crews operating from Avaris harbour. Amenhotep's morning begins before sunrise as he prepares nets that represent the technological fusion characterizing their work. The basic Egyptian net design has been modified with knotting techniques that Baal-Zephon learned from coastal fishermen in his homeland, creating stronger and more flexible tools that can handle the diverse fish species now being harvested from delta waters. These modifications seem simple, but they reflect the systematic way that practical knowledge has been shared and adapted throughout Hyksos society. The boat itself tells a similar story of innovation through cultural exchange. Its Egyptian reed construction provides the buoyancy and maneuverability that Nile conditions require, but steering mechanisms adapted from Canaanite maritime traditions offer improved control during the strong currents that characterize certain seasons. The result is a vessel that performs better than either cultural tradition could have achieved independently. As they navigate toward their preferred fishing grounds, Amenhotep and Baal-zephon discuss the previous day's market prices and the demand patterns that guide their daily decisions. Their conversation reveals the economic sophistication that has developed throughout Egyptian society during the Hyksos period. They understand not only local market conditions, but also the international factors that influence demand for different types of fish in various regional markets. Baal-zephon explains how his relatives in Canaanite trading networks provide information about fish prices in distant cities, enabling the fishing partnership to adjust their harvesting strategies to maximize profits. This commercial intelligence represents the kind of practical benefit that cultural integration has created for ordinary working people throughout the Delta region. Their fishing techniques combine methods that neither partner could have employed effectively alone. Amenhotep's intimate knowledge of Nile fish behavior patterns guides their selection of fishing locations, while Baal-zephon's expertise with different net deployment strategies enables them to harvest species that traditional Egyptian methods often missed. The morning's work demonstrates how cultural exchange has enhanced practical capabilities at every level of society. The conversation during their morning's fishing also reveals how political tensions affect even the most basic economic activities. Reports of military preparations in southern Egypt have created uncertainty about trade relationships that could affect fish markets, while concerns about potential conflicts influence decisions about equipment investments and partnership arrangements. Despite these concerns, both fishermen express appreciation for the opportunities that Hyksos rule has created for people like themselves. Their partnership has provided economic benefits that would have been impossible under previous systems, while their personal friendship demonstrates the social bonds that have developed across cultural boundaries throughout Egyptian society. When they return to harbour with their morning catch, the market scenes they encounter illustrate the commercial vitality that has emerged during the foreign dynasty's rule. Fish merchants from various backgrounds compete for the best products, while their negotiations are conducted in the multilingual bargaining language that has evolved to facilitate complex commercial transactions. Among the merchants waiting for their return is Kenti, an Egyptian fish dealer whose business has expanded dramatically during the Hyksos period. Her stall now serves customers from across the ancient world, requiring her to understand quality standards and preparation methods that reflect diverse cultural preferences. This morning, she purchases specific species that she knows will appeal to Mesopotamian traders currently visiting Avaris. Kenti's success illustrates how Hyksos commercial policies have created new opportunities for Egyptian entrepreneurs willing to adapt their traditional practices to serve international markets. Her knowledge of foreign tastes and customs enables her to command premium prices for carefully selected products, while her reputation for reliability has attracted steady customers from multiple cultural backgrounds. The morning market activities also reveal the regulatory innovations that Hyksos administration has introduced to ensure fair trading practices and product quality. Inspectors who monitor commercial transactions include both Egyptian and foreign officials, whose combined expertise enables them to detect problems that single cultural perspectives might miss. Their presence provides confidence for both buyers and sellers participating in the complex international commerce that defines contemporary Egyptian markets. As Amenhotep and Baal-zephon complete their sails and prepare for the day's second fishing expedition, they encounter Seneb, a young Egyptian who has recently begun learning Canaanite fishing techniques from foreign specialists working along the coast. His education represents the systematic knowledge transfer that has characterized successful adaptation throughout Hyksos society. Seneb describes the training program that enables young Egyptians to acquire skills that were previously unavailable within their traditional cultural framework. The instruction combines practical techniques with theoretical understanding of marine environments and fish behavior patterns that reflect centuries of accumulated knowledge from various coastal peoples. The training program's existence demonstrates the Hyksos commitment to sharing technological innovations rather than maintaining them as exclusive advantages for foreign populations. This approach has created widespread appreciation for foreign rule among Egyptian working people, who have benefited directly from expanded educational and economic opportunities. During their afternoon fishing expedition, Amenhotep and Baal-Zephon discuss the broader implications of current political developments for people in their circumstances. Both men recognize that their successful partnership depends on continued social stability and governmental policies that encourage cultural cooperation rather than ethnic conflict. Their conversation reveals sophisticated understanding of how political changes could affect their daily lives and long-term prospects. Any restoration of traditional Egyptian rule might eliminate the administrative support and commercial opportunities that have enabled their success, while ethnic tensions could destroy the personal relationships that form the foundation of their economic cooperation. Despite these concerns, both fishermen express confidence that the practical benefits of cultural integration have created sufficient popular support to resist attempts to restore previous systems that served ordinary people less effectively. Their own experience provides evidence that cooperation produces better results than isolation, while their personal friendship demonstrates the human bonds that transcend ethnic categories. The afternoon's fishing activities take them to areas where they encounter other fishing crews that represent the full spectrum of cultural adaptation occurring throughout the Delta region. Some boats crew entirely by Egyptians who have adopted foreign techniques, while others include mixed crews similar to their own partnership. A few vessels operate according to traditional Egyptian methods, but even these show subtle influences from international innovations. These encounters provide opportunities for information sharing that enhances everyone's fishing success while strengthening the social networks that connect people from different backgrounds. Conversations between crews include technical discussions about fishing methods, commercial intelligence about market conditions, and personal news that maintains community bonds despite the cultural diversity that defines contemporary Egyptian society. The afternoon's catch proves even more successful than the morning's harvest, confirming the effectiveness of their combined techniques and cultural knowledge. As they return to harbour, both partners feel satisfaction not only about their economic success, but also about their contribution to demonstrating the practical benefits of cultural cooperation. The evening market scenes they encounter reveal the social dimensions of commercial activity that have emerged during the Hyksos period. Customers from various backgrounds gather not only to purchase products, but also to exchange information, maintain friendships, and participate in the community life that has developed around commercial activities. Among the evening's customers is Nefertari, an Egyptian housewife whose family's dietary habits reflect the culinary fusion that has become common throughout Hyksos society. She purchases fish species that were unknown to her mother's generation, while her preparation methods combine traditional Egyptian cooking techniques with flavouring approaches learned from foreign neighbours. Nefertari's shopping routine illustrates how cultural adaptation has enhanced daily life for ordinary Egyptian families. Her knowledge of international cooking methods enables her to create more varied and nutritious meals, while her understanding of foreign customs has expanded her family's social connections and cultural experiences. The conversation during her fish purchases reveals the information networks that enable Egyptian households to adapt successfully to cultural changes. She exchanges cooking tips with other customers, learns about new preparation methods from the merchants themselves, and shares her own innovations that combine elements from multiple culinary traditions. Her evening meal preparations will transform the day's fish purchases into dishes that satisfy her family's traditional preferences, while introducing flavors and textures that reflect the international influences shaping contemporary Egyptian cuisine. These domestic innovations represent the countless individual adaptations that collectively define the cultural transformation occurring throughout Hyksos society. As evening settles over Avaris Harbour, the fishing crews complete their daily maintenance routines that prepare their equipment for the following day's work. These activities demonstrate the systematic approach to technological innovation that has characterized successful adaptation throughout the Hyksos period. Net repairs incorporate techniques learned from foreign specialists, while boat maintenance procedures combine traditional Egyptian methods with innovations that enhance durability and performance. Tool sharpening and equipment organization reflect efficiency improvements that have emerged from cultural exchange and practical experimentation. The evening's maintenance work also provides opportunities for continued learning and skill development that extend the educational benefits of cultural cooperation. Experienced fishermen share knowledge with younger crew members, while specialists from different backgrounds contribute insights that enhance everyone's technical capabilities. These informal educational activities supplement the formal training programs that Hyksos administration has established throughout Egyptian society. The combination of systematic instruction and practical experience has created learning opportunities that surpass anything available during previous dynasties. When the day's work finally concludes, Amenhotep and Baal-Zephon join other fishing crews at waterfront gathering places where the social dimensions of cultural integration become most apparent. These evening gatherings bring together people from various backgrounds for conversations and entertainment that strengthen community bonds while providing forums for discussing concerns and sharing information. The tavern conversations include detailed analysis of current political developments and their potential implications for working people throughout the Delta region. Participants demonstrate sophisticated understanding of both local and international factors that could influence their future prospects, while their discussions reflect educational improvements that have enhanced analytical capabilities throughout Egyptian society. Musicians who entertain the evening gatherings perform compositions that blend traditional Egyptian melodies with rhythmic patterns and instrumental techniques learned from foreign traditions. These musical innovations create new forms of artistic expression that satisfy audiences whose cultural experiences span multiple traditions. Storytellers who contribute to the evening's entertainment adapt traditional Egyptian narratives to incorporate characters and plot elements that reflect the multicultural realities of contemporary society. Their tales celebrate both Egyptian heritage and foreign contributions while creating new mythologies that help audiences understand their transformed world. The evening's entertainment also includes games and competitions that demonstrate the recreational innovations emerging from cultural exchange. Traditional Egyptian board games are played alongside foreign strategic games, while athletic competitions combine elements from various cultural traditions to create new forms of physical challenge and skill demonstration. These recreational activities provide relaxation and enjoyment while also serving important social functions that strengthen community bonds across cultural boundaries. Participants develop personal relationships that transcend ethnic categories while learning about different approaches to problem solving and strategic thinking. As the evening progresses, conversations gradually shift from entertainment to more serious discussions about political developments and their potential consequences for communities throughout the Delta region. These discussions reveal the depth of concern that ordinary people feel about threats to the stability and prosperity that have characterized their lives during the Hyksos period. Participants share information gathered through their various professional and social networks, creating comprehensive understanding of military preparations and political developments occurring throughout Egypt and neighboring kingdoms. Their analysis demonstrates the intelligence-gathering capabilities that commercial and social networks provide to communities seeking to understand and respond to changing circumstances. The political discussions also reveal the genuine appreciation that working people feel for the opportunities and improvements that Hyksos rule has created in their daily lives. Their personal experiences provide compelling evidence of the practical benefits that cultural cooperation and administrative innovation have produced for ordinary Egyptian families. Despite their concerns about potential conflicts, most participants express confidence that the advantages of current systems will ultimately prevail over attempts to restore less effective traditional arrangements. Their optimism reflects understanding that successful innovations tend to survive political changes because they serve genuine human needs more effectively than previous methods. When the gatherings finally conclude and participants disperse to their homes throughout the harbour district, the conversations continue in smaller groups that maintain the social connections essential for community cohesion. These ongoing discussions help process the complex emotions and concerns that arise during periods of political uncertainty. The residential areas where fishing families settle for the night reflect the architectural innovations that have emerged during the Hyksos period. Housing designs combine traditional Egyptian structural methods with foreign improvements that enhance comfort, functionality, and efficiency. Family homes include storage areas designed according to Canaanite principles that provide better organization of fishing equipment and household supplies, while cooking facilities incorporate features that support the diverse culinary traditions that have become common throughout Egyptian society. The domestic spaces also accommodate the expanded social relationships that characterize contemporary family life. Guest areas enable families to host visitors from various cultural backgrounds, while children's spaces reflect the educational needs of young people who must master multiple languages and cultural competencies. As families settle into their evening routines, the conversations that fill these homes reveal how thoroughly cultural integration has transformed private as well as public life. Parents discuss their children's educational progress in programs that combine traditional Egyptian subjects with international knowledge and skills, while young people share experiences that would have been impossible for previous generations. The bedtime stories that parents tell their children incorporate elements from multiple cultural traditions, creating new narratives that help young minds understand and appreciate the diverse world they are inheriting. These stories celebrate both Egyptian heritage and foreign contributions, while preparing children for lives that will require cultural flexibility and international awareness. Family prayers that conclude the day reflect the religious synthesis that has emerged throughout Hyksos society. Households honor Egyptian deities while acknowledging foreign spiritual traditions, creating worship practices that satisfy complex cultural identities without compromising genuine religious convictions. The evening's final activities include planning for the following day's work and social obligations, discussions that reveal how thoroughly international considerations have become integrated into ordinary family decision-making. Parents coordinate schedules that accommodate both traditional Egyptian obligations and new opportunities created by cultural exchange. Children's homework includes exercises in multiple languages and subjects that reflect the expanded educational curricula established during the Hyksos period. Their studies prepare them for careers and social roles that would have been unimaginable during previous dynasties while maintaining connection to Egyptian cultural heritage. As night deepens over the harbour district, the sounds that fill the darkness include languages from across the ancient world, while the dreams that occupy sleeping minds process the complex realities of living through a period of remarkable cultural transformation. The fishing families who have found prosperity and satisfaction through cultural cooperation represent millions of ordinary people whose lives have been enhanced by the innovations and opportunities that define Hyksos Egypt. Their stories of successful adaptation and mutual enrichment provide powerful testimony to the human capacity for positive change when different peoples choose cooperation over conflict. The practical benefits they have achieved through cultural integration create strong foundations for continued progress, while their personal relationships demonstrate the social bonds that make multicultural societies both possible and beneficial. The harbour district's night sounds gradually fade into the peaceful quiet that characterises secure and prosperous communities, while the gentle lapping of Nile waters against fishing boats provides a soothing rhythm that has accompanied Egyptian dreams for thousands of years. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and opportunities, but tonight, these transformed Egyptian families rest in the confidence that their cultural innovations have created better lives for themselves and their children. In the agricultural regions surrounding Avaris, similar scenes of adaptation and prosperity unfold as farming families conclude their own daily routines that reflect the systematic improvements that Hyksos rule has brought to Egyptian rural life. The innovations that have transformed urban commercial activities have also revolutionized agricultural practices, creating new levels of productivity and economic opportunity for the farmers who provide the foundation for Egypt's continued prosperity. The night sky above these agricultural areas contains the same stars that have witnessed the seasonal cycles of planting and harvest throughout Egyptian history, while the cultural synthesis achieved during this particular period represents a unique chapter in humanity's ongoing story of adaptation, innovation, and mutual learning across the boundaries that traditionally separate different peoples and civilizations. The dawn chorus of roosters and cattle awakens the farming settlement of Per Rameses, where Egyptian peasant families begin their daily routines alongside Canaanite agricultural specialists whose knowledge has transformed the productivity of delta farmlands. In the modest dwelling of Seneb, an Egyptian farmer whose family has worked these fields for 6 generations, the morning preparations reveal how completely foreign innovations have been woven into traditional agricultural life. Seneb's wife, Merit, begins her day by grinding barley, using techniques that combine Egyptian milling methods with improvements learned from her Canaanite neighbor, Asherabet. The grinding stone itself represents this cultural fusion, its traditional Egyptian design enhanced with modifications that increase efficiency while reducing the physical strain that had burdened previous generations of farm wives. The barley she processes comes from seed varieties that Hyksos agricultural advisors introduce from northern regions, producing higher yields while requiring less water than traditional Egyptian crops. As Merit prepares the morning meal, her movements reflect the culinary adaptations that have become commonplace throughout rural Egypt. She incorporates herbs and spices that arrived through Hyksos trade networks, while her cooking methods blend traditional Egyptian techniques with innovations that preserve nutritional value and enhance flavor. The bread she bakes feeds not only her immediate family, but also the mixed work crews that have become essential to successful farming during this period. Their eldest son, Amenemheb, awakens to responsibilities that would have been unknown to his grandfather's generation. At 16, he possesses knowledge of agricultural techniques drawn from across the ancient world, while his literacy in multiple languages enables him to communicate with foreign specialists and read technical manuals that describe innovative farming methods. His morning routine includes checking irrigation systems that incorporate engineering principles learned from Mesopotamian water management experts. The irrigation channels themselves tell stories of technological revolution that has transformed Egyptian agriculture during the Hyksos period. Traditional Egyptian flood management has been enhanced with canal designs that provide more precise water control, while drainage systems prevent the salt accumulation that had plagued certain agricultural areas. These improvements required cooperation between Egyptian workers familiar with local conditions and foreign engineers who brought specialized technical knowledge. Young Amenemheb's inspection of these systems reveals the sophisticated understanding of hydraulic engineering that has become common among Egyptian farmers during this period. He can calculate water flow rates, adjust channel depths to optimize distribution, and maintain the bronze gates and wooden locks that regulate seasonal flooding. His technical competence reflects educational opportunities that have expanded far beyond traditional agricultural training. The morning's agricultural work begins with meetings between Egyptian farmers and Canaanite specialists who coordinate the day's activities according to seasonal requirements and crop management principles that draw from multiple agricultural traditions. Seneb joins neighbors from various cultural backgrounds to discuss planting schedules, pest control strategies, and harvest planning that reflects collective knowledge accumulated from across the ancient world. These planning sessions demonstrate the systematic approach to agricultural improvement that has characterized Hyksos rural policy. Rather than simply imposing foreign methods on Egyptian farmers, the administration has encouraged collaborative development of hybrid techniques that combine the best elements from different traditions while adapting to local environmental conditions. The morning's fieldwork reveals the practical results of this collaborative approach. Egyptian farmers work alongside Canaanite specialists, using tools that represent technological fusion at its most effective. Plows designed according to traditional Egyptian principles incorporate bronze reinforcements and improved blade designs that increase efficiency while reducing animal labor requirements. Seed drills adapted from northern agricultural regions enable more precise planting that maximizes crop yields while conserving valuable seed supplies. Seneb's work in the barley fields demonstrates how individual farmers have mastered techniques that were completely unknown just decades earlier. His understanding of soil preparation combines traditional Egyptian methods with innovations that improve water retention and nutrient availability. The fertilization strategies he employs draw from Canaanite livestock management practices that produce superior organic amendments for crop production. The livestock that graze in adjacent pastures reflect the animal breeding programs that Hyksos agricultural policies have encouraged throughout the Delta region. Egyptian cattle have been crossbred with hardier northern varieties that produce more milk while requiring less feed, while sheep flocks include breeds that produce wool suitable for the textile innovations that have transformed Egyptian manufacturing. Among the morning's pastoral activities, young shepherds from both Egyptian and Canaanite families tend mixed flocks using herding techniques that combine the mobility strategies of nomadic peoples with the intensive management methods that Egyptian conditions require. Their cooperation demonstrates how agricultural work has created practical bonds across cultural boundaries while improving productivity for all participants. The shepherds' conversations during their morning work reveal the educational benefits that cultural exchange has provided to rural young people. They discuss animal husbandry techniques learned from specialists representing various pastoral traditions, while their knowledge of different languages enables them to access information sources that would have been unavailable to previous generations. Their observations about animal behavior and pasture conditions reflect analytical skills that have been enhanced through exposure to different approaches to problem solving and decision making. The systematic record keeping they maintain documents breeding results and grazing patterns using methods that combine traditional Egyptian observation with foreign techniques for data organization and analysis. As the morning progresses, the agricultural work shifts to crop maintenance activities that demonstrate the intensive cultivation methods that have increased Egyptian agricultural productivity during the Hyksos period. Teams of workers from various backgrounds collaborate in weeding, pruning, and pest control activities that require coordination and shared technical knowledge. The pest control strategies they employ represent particularly sophisticated examples of agricultural innovation through cultural exchange. Traditional Egyptian methods for protecting crops have been supplemented with techniques learned from regions where different pest populations require alternative control approaches. The resulting integrated pest management systems provide more effective crop protection while reducing the labor requirements that traditional methods demanded. Merit joins other farm women for the morning's dairy processing activities that illustrate how domestic agricultural work has been transformed through international knowledge sharing. The cheese-making techniques she employs combine traditional Egyptian methods with innovations that produce varieties suitable for both local consumption and export to foreign markets that have developed during the Hyksos period. The dairy facilities where these women work incorporate design improvements that enhance sanitation and efficiency while maintaining the traditional social aspects of communal work that have always characterized Egyptian rural life. Their conversations during these activities include technical discussions about production methods alongside personal news and community concerns that maintain social bonds across cultural boundaries. The morning's dairy work produces not only food for local consumption, but also products that enter the commercial networks, connecting rural Egypt with international markets. The quality standards these women maintain reflect understanding of foreign preferences and requirements that has become essential for agricultural success during this period. Their knowledge of these international standards demonstrates how completely global considerations have been integrated into local agricultural decision-making. Farm families now consider market demands from kingdoms they had never heard of just generations earlier, while their production methods accommodate quality requirements that reflect diverse cultural preferences and trading relationships. The morning's fieldwork concludes with planning sessions that address the longer-term agricultural strategies essential for sustained productivity and economic success. Seneb participates in discussions with neighbours and agricultural specialists about crop rotation schedules, land improvement projects, and investment decisions that require understanding of both local conditions and international market trends. These planning discussions reveal the sophisticated business thinking that has developed among Egyptian farmers during the Hyksos period. Participants analyze financial projections, evaluate risk factors, and coordinate collective activities using analytical methods that combine traditional Egyptian practical wisdom with foreign approaches to strategic planning and resource management. The agricultural innovations they discuss include experimental crops that could provide new income sources, while infrastructure improvements could enhance their competitive position in regional markets. Their willingness to invest in long-term improvements reflects confidence in the political stability and economic opportunities that Hyksos rule has created for rural communities. As midday approaches, the morning's agricultural activities give way to processing work that transforms raw products into goods suitable for local consumption and regional commerce. Seneb's family joins neighbours in grain processing facilities that represent the technological improvements that have enhanced rural productivity throughout the Delta region. The milling equipment they operate combines traditional Egyptian grinding methods with mechanical improvements that increase efficiency while producing flour of superior quality. These technological enhancements enable rural communities to add value to their agricultural production while creating employment opportunities for young people who might otherwise migrate to urban areas seeking economic advancement. The midday meal preparations that follow demonstrate how agricultural abundance has enhanced nutrition and dietary variety throughout Egyptian rural communities. Merit prepares dishes that incorporate not only traditional Egyptian ingredients, but also foods that have become available through expanded trade networks and agricultural innovation. The vegetables she serves include varieties that were introduced during the Hyksos period, while her cooking methods reflect techniques that preserve nutritional value while creating flavors that satisfy both traditional preferences and new tastes that have developed through cultural exchange. The meal itself represents the practical benefits that agricultural improvement has provided to ordinary farming families. The afternoon's agricultural work shifts to activities that demonstrate the seasonal planning and resource management that sustain productivity throughout the agricultural cycle. Seneb leads work teams in maintenance projects that prepare irrigation systems and storage facilities for the coming flood season, while his technical knowledge enables him to coordinate complex activities that require precise timing and systematic execution. These maintenance activities involve both Egyptian workers familiar with local conditions and foreign specialists whose technical expertise ensures that improvements meet international standards for engineering quality and operational reliability. Their collaboration demonstrates how cultural cooperation has enhanced the technical capabilities available to Egyptian agricultural communities. The afternoon's work also includes educational activities that transfer knowledge from experienced practitioners to younger workers who will inherit responsibility for maintaining and improving agricultural systems. Amenemheb participates in training sessions that combine practical instruction with theoretical understanding of agricultural principles that have been gathered from across the ancient world. The training methods employed in these sessions reflect pedagogical innovations that make complex technical knowledge accessible to students from various educational backgrounds. Traditional Egyptian apprenticeship methods have been enhanced with systematic instruction techniques that ensure comprehensive understanding of both practical skills and underlying principles. As afternoon shadows lengthen across the agricultural landscape, the day's work transitions to activities that connect rural production with the commercial networks that have transformed Egyptian economic life during the Hyksos period. Seneb meets with traders who will transport his family's surplus production to urban markets, while their negotiations reflect the commercial sophistication that has developed throughout rural Egypt. These commercial discussions involve detailed analysis of market conditions, quality requirements, and transportation logistics that affect profitability and long-term business relationships. Seneb's understanding of these commercial factors demonstrates how completely international considerations have been integrated into local agricultural decision-making processes. The traders who purchase his production represent the diverse commercial networks that connect Egyptian agriculture with markets throughout the ancient world. Their knowledge of foreign preferences and requirements provides valuable information that guides production decisions and quality improvements, while their financial resources enable agricultural investments that enhance productivity and competitiveness. The commercial relationships that develop through these transactions extend beyond simple buying and selling to include information sharing, technical assistance, and cooperative planning that benefit all participants. These relationships demonstrate how commercial activities have created social bonds that transcend cultural boundaries while strengthening economic foundations for continued prosperity. As evening approaches, Seneb's family joins neighbors for communal activities that reflect the social innovations that have emerged from cultural integration in rural areas. These gatherings provide opportunities for sharing information, coordinating collective activities, and maintaining the community relationships essential for agricultural success and social stability. The evening's discussions include detailed analysis of agricultural conditions throughout the region, while participants share observations about crop performance, weather patterns, and pest management results that inform collective decision-making. Their conversations demonstrate the systematic information sharing that has enhanced agricultural effectiveness throughout Egyptian rural communities. These community gatherings also address concerns about political developments that could affect agricultural prosperity and social stability. Rural families understand that their success depends on continued peaceful conditions and governmental policies that support agricultural innovation and international commerce. The evening's entertainment includes musical performances and storytelling that reflect the cultural synthesis that has emerged in rural areas during the Hyksos period. Traditional Egyptian songs are performed alongside foreign melodies, while stories blend Egyptian mythological themes with narrative elements drawn from various cultural traditions. These cultural activities provide relaxation and enjoyment, while also serving educational functions that help community members understand and appreciate the diverse influences that have enriched their lives. Children learn about both their Egyptian heritage and the foreign contributions that have enhanced their opportunities and expanded their horizons. The evening meal that concludes the day demonstrates how agricultural abundance has enhanced nutrition and culinary variety throughout rural Egyptian communities. Merit's cooking incorporates ingredients that represent the full spectrum of agricultural innovation, while her preparation methods reflect the technical knowledge and cultural adaptation that characterize contemporary Egyptian rural life. The family's mealtime conversations reveal how thoroughly international considerations have been integrated into household planning and decision-making. They discuss their children's educational opportunities, their own business strategies, and their community's development projects using analytical frameworks that draw from multiple cultural traditions. As night settles over the agricultural landscape, farm families throughout the Delta region settle into evening routines that reflect the domestic innovations that have emerged from cultural exchange. Their homes incorporate architectural improvements that enhance comfort and functionality, while their household organization reflects efficiency methods learned from various cultural sources. The bedtime preparations that conclude each family's day include educational activities that prepare children for lives that will require cultural flexibility and international awareness. Parents share knowledge that combines traditional Egyptian wisdom with foreign innovations, while their expectations for their children's futures assume opportunities that would have been unimaginable during previous dynasties. Family prayers that end the day reflect the religious synthesis that has developed throughout rural Egypt during the Hyksos period. Households honor both Egyptian deities and foreign spiritual traditions, creating worship practices that satisfy complex cultural identities while maintaining genuine religious conviction and community participation. The night sounds that fill the agricultural darkness include the familiar rhythms of rural life that have characterized Egyptian countryside for millennia, while the dreams that occupy sleeping minds process the remarkable transformations that have enhanced rural prosperity and expanded opportunities for ordinary farming families. The agricultural innovations and cultural adaptations that define contemporary rural life represent humanity's capacity for positive change through cooperation and mutual learning. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and opportunities, but tonight these transformed farming communities rest in the satisfaction that their cultural innovations and agricultural improvements have created better lives for themselves and their children. The stars above witness another chapter in Egypt's long agricultural history. While this particular period represents unique achievements in cultural cooperation and technological advancement, in the workshops and craft centers scattered throughout the Delta region, similar scenes of innovation and prosperity reflect how Hyksos rule has transformed Egyptian manufacturing and artisan activities. The technological exchanges and cultural adaptations that have revolutionized agriculture have also created new opportunities and capabilities for craftspeople whose skills now serve markets that span the ancient world. The pottery workshops of Per Bastet demonstrate these manufacturing innovations through the daily activities of master potter Khnumhotep, whose techniques combine traditional Egyptian ceramic methods with innovations learned from foreign specialists whose knowledge has expanded the possibilities for Egyptian craftwork. His workshop has become a center for training young artisans in methods that represent the best elements from multiple ceramic traditions. Khnumhotep's morning routine begins with clay preparation that incorporates materials and techniques that were unknown to previous generations of Egyptian potters. The clay itself comes from sources that have been identified through geological surveys conducted by foreign specialists, while the preparation methods include innovations that improve plasticity and firing characteristics. The pottery wheels where he works represent technological improvements that have enhanced both efficiency and artistic possibilities. Traditional Egyptian wheel designs have been modified with mechanical refinements that provide better speed control and rotational stability, while new bearing systems reduce maintenance requirements and extend equipment life. The morning's production activities demonstrate how a cultural exchange has expanded the range of pottery products that Egyptian workshops can produce. Khnumhotep creates vessels that serve both traditional Egyptian uses and foreign market demands, while his decorative techniques combine Egyptian artistic motifs with design elements that appeal to international customers. His apprentices, who include young people from various cultural backgrounds, learn production methods that prepare them for careers in the expanded markets that have developed during the Hyksos period. Their training combines traditional Egyptian craftsmanship with international techniques and quality standards that ensure their future competitiveness. The kiln operations that conclude each day's pottery production reflect the technological improvements that have enhanced firing efficiency and product quality throughout Egyptian ceramic workshops. The kiln designs combine traditional Egyptian construction methods with innovations that provide better temperature control and fuel efficiency. The firing schedules that guide these operations require understanding of technical principles that have been gathered from pottery traditions throughout the ancient world. Khnumhotep's knowledge of these principles enables him to achieve firing results that consistently meet the quality standards required for both local and export markets. As evening approaches in these craft workshops, the social activities that conclude each day's work demonstrate how manufacturing communities have adapted to the cultural diversity that characterizes contemporary Egyptian society. Artisans from various backgrounds gather for conversations and entertainment that strengthen professional relationships while maintaining the cultural connections that enrich their personal lives. These evening gatherings provide opportunities for sharing technical knowledge, discussing market conditions, and coordinating collective activities that benefit all workshop participants. The conversations that fill these gatherings reflect the educational improvements and international awareness that have developed throughout Egyptian artisan communities during the Hyksos period. The workshop districts where these artisan families settle for the night reflect the residential innovations that have emerged to accommodate the expanded economic opportunities and cultural diversity that characterize contemporary Egyptian manufacturing centers. Housing designs incorporate improvements that support both traditional family life and the international connections that define contemporary artisan careers. The night sounds that fill these manufacturing districts include languages from across the ancient world, while the dreams that occupy sleeping minds process the technological innovations and cultural adaptations that have transformed Egyptian craftsmanship. These artisan communities represent another dimension of the cultural synthesis that has enhanced Egyptian civilization during this remarkable period of foreign rule. Throughout Egypt's transformed society, from the royal palace to the humblest fishing boat, from bustling urban markets to remote farming villages, the daily rhythms of life during the Hyksos period reveal a civilization that has achieved unprecedented levels of cultural integration, technological innovation, and international connection. The foreign kings who rule from Avaris have created not merely a political arrangement, but a comprehensive transformation of Egyptian society that has enhanced opportunities and expanded horizons for people at every level of the social hierarchy. The success of this transformation reflects the Hyksos understanding that effective rule requires not domination, but adaptation, not the destruction of existing traditions, but their enhancement through cultural exchange and technological innovation. Their achievement represents one of history's most successful examples of how different peoples can cooperate to create societies that serve everyone's interests more effectively than any single cultural tradition could achieve independently. As we drift deeper into this ancient world, let these stories of daily life during the Hyksos period remind us that human civilization advances most successfully when different cultures choose cooperation over conflict, when foreign innovations enhance rather than replace existing traditions, and when political leadership serves the practical needs of ordinary people rather than abstract ideological principles. The Egypt of the Hyksos represents humanity at its most creative and adaptive, demonstrating possibilities that remain relevant for our own complex and interconnected world. Ected world. The evening shadows lengthen across the throne room of Avaris as Khayan concludes his daily audiences, but the most intriguing conversations of his reign often occur during these twilight hours when formal protocol gives way to intimate discussions with trusted advisors. Tonight, his attention turns to reports from the southern borders that reveal growing tensions with the Egyptian princes of Thebes, whose resentment of foreign rule has begun crystallizing into organized resistance. In the private chambers adjacent to the throne room, Kian meets with his most trusted intelligence coordinator, a remarkable woman named Tawaret, whose network of informants spans the length of the Nile Valley. Her evening briefings have become essential to understanding the complex political currents that could determine the future of Hyksos rule in Egypt. Tawaret represents the sophisticated intelligence apparatus that foreign rulers have developed to maintain their authority over a much larger indigenous population. Her background illustrates the meritocratic principles that have enabled Hyksos administration to function effectively despite its minority status. Born to an Egyptian merchant family but educated in the international protocols that characterize Hyksos governance, she possesses linguistic skills and cultural knowledge that make her invaluable for interpreting developments throughout Egyptian territories. Her loyalty derives not from ethnic affiliation, but from professional appreciation for the opportunities that Hyksos administration has provided. This evening's intelligence reports describe increasing coordination between Theban princes who have begun viewing themselves as legitimate heirs to pharaonic authority that foreign rulers have usurped. Tawaret's sources describe secret meetings where these princes discuss military strategies for reclaiming Egyptian sovereignty, while their propaganda efforts seek to mobilize popular support by appealing to traditional religious beliefs about divine kingship and ethnic purity. The Southern Resistance Movement represents the most serious challenge that Hyksos rule has faced since the initial establishment of foreign authority in the Delta region. Unlike the gradual infiltration that had enabled Hyksos' ascendancy, any attempt to dislodge them would require sustained military campaigns that could devastate the prosperity and cultural achievements that have characterized their administration. Kayhan listens to these intelligence reports with the analytical detachment that has characterized his approach to all governmental challenges during his reign. He understands that successful response requires careful assessment of both military and political factors, while emotional reactions could lead to decisions that might strengthen rather than weaken opposition movements. His questions reveal sophisticated understanding of the strategic considerations that will determine whether Hyksos innovations can survive the ethnic nationalism that motivates their opponents. The evening's discussion also addresses the international dimensions of developing resistance movements. Tawaret's intelligence networks have detected communications between Theban princes and foreign kingdoms that might provide military assistance in exchange for future commercial concessions or territorial agreements. These potential alliances could transform what appears to be domestic Egyptian conflict into international war that involves multiple kingdoms throughout the ancient world. The possibility of foreign intervention creates complex strategic calculations that require Kayhan to balance immediate security needs against long-term diplomatic relationships that have provided foundations for Hyksos' prosperity. Military preparations that might deter southern resistance could also provoke international reactions that complicate the delicate balance of alliances and commercial relationships that sustain the Delta Kingdom's economic advantages. As the evening progresses, their discussion shifts from immediate intelligence concerns to broader questions about the sustainability of multicultural governance in societies where ethnic identity remains politically significant. Kayhan and Tawaret explore philosophical questions about loyalty, identity, and political legitimacy that have no simple answers but require careful consideration for anyone attempting to maintain authority across cultural boundaries. Their conversation reveals the intellectual sophistication that has characterized Hyksos' approaches to governance throughout their rule in Egypt. Rather than relying solely on military force or administrative efficiency, they have attempted to create political systems that accommodate diverse cultural traditions while serving practical needs that transcend ethnic categories. The current challenges test whether such systems can survive when confronted by movements that prioritize cultural purity over functional effectiveness. The evening's analysis also addresses the economic factors that could influence popular support for either Hyksos authority or Egyptian resistance movements. The prosperity that foreign rule has created throughout the Delta region provides powerful arguments for maintaining current systems, while any disruption of commercial relationships could reduce living standards for ordinary people whose daily lives have been enhanced by cultural integration and technological innovation. Tawaret's economic intelligence describes the financial networks that sustain both Hyksos administration and potential resistance movements. The international commerce that has flourished under foreign rule generates revenues that support governmental operations while creating employment opportunities for Egyptian workers. Conversely, the traditional elite families who support southern resistance movements possess agricultural wealth and regional influence that could fund sustained military campaigns. The economic dimensions of potential conflict reveal how thoroughly commercial and political considerations have become intertwined during the Hyksos period. Any military confrontation would disrupt the trade networks that have made Egypt prosperous, while the costs of prolonged warfare could exhaust the financial resources that enable both effective governance and military operations. As night deepens over Avaris, Kayhan and Tawaret conclude their strategic discussions with practical planning for contingencies that might be necessary if political conditions deteriorate. Their preparations include measures for protecting loyal populations, securing essential resources, and maintaining communication networks that would enable coordinated responses to various types of challenges. These contingency plans reveal the systematic approach to crisis management that has characterized Hyksos administration throughout their rule in Egypt. Rather than relying on improvised responses to unexpected developments, they have developed comprehensive procedures for addressing potential threats while maintaining the governmental functions essential for continued stability and prosperity. The evening's final discussions address the human dimensions of political crisis that affect individuals and families whose lives have been transformed by cultural integration during the Hyksos period. Kian understands that his political decisions will determine not only his own fate, but also the futures of countless people whose prosperity and security depend on continued peaceful coexistence between different cultural communities. When Taweret finally departs for her own evening activities, Kian remains in his private chambers for quiet reflection that has become his nightly routine for processing the complex challenges of ruling a multicultural kingdom. His meditations combine elements from various philosophical traditions that have influenced his understanding of leadership, responsibility, and the relationship between individual ambition and collective welfare. The king's evening reflections often focus on the remarkable journey that has brought him from the ancestral homelands of his people to the throne of the world's most ancient civilization. His personal story exemplifies the possibilities that emerge when different cultures encounter each other with mutual respect rather than hostility, while his current challenges illustrate the difficulties that arise when ethnic prejudice threatens cooperative relationships. Tonight's reflections are interrupted by the arrival of his eldest son, Prince Yanasi, whose own education has prepared him for the complex responsibilities that he may inherit if current political conditions can be stabilized. The young prince brings reports from his own sources that provide additional perspectives on developing resistance movements, while his questions reveal the analytical thinking that has been fostered by his multicultural education. The conversation between father and son illuminates the generational changes that have occurred during the Hyksos period. Prince Yanasi represents a generation that has grown up with cultural integration as a normal aspect of daily life, while his father remembers the earlier struggles to establish foreign authority in Egyptian territory. Their different perspectives provide valuable insights into both the achievements and vulnerabilities of their political system. Prince Yanasi describes his recent travels throughout the Delta region, where he has observed the daily lives of people whose prosperity and cultural opportunities have been enhanced by Hyksos innovations. His first-hand experiences provide evidence of popular support that might sustain foreign rule during political challenges, while his interactions with young Egyptians reveal generational attitudes that differ significantly from traditional elite opinions. The prince's observations also address the military capabilities that would be essential for defending Hyksos authority against southern resistance movements. His training has included exposure to the latest innovations in warfare technology and tactical thinking, while his relationships with military officers provide insights into the professional army's readiness for potential conflicts. Their discussion reveals how completely military innovations have been integrated into Hyksos strategic thinking. The horse-drawn chariots that revolutionized battlefield mobility have been supplemented with improvements in weapons technology, communication systems, and logistical support that provide significant advantages over traditional Egyptian military methods. These technological superiorities could prove decisive in any direct military confrontation. The evening's military analysis also addresses the political implications of warfare that could affect civilian populations throughout Egyptian territory. Both father and son understand that military success must be achieved without destroying the social foundations that have made Hyksos rule beneficial for ordinary people. Excessive force could alienate the popular support that provides legitimacy for foreign authority. As midnight approaches, their conversation shifts to longer-term questions about dynastic succession and the institutional arrangements that could preserve Hyksos innovations regardless of immediate political challenges. Prince Yanasi's future role requires preparation for scenarios that might involve either continued foreign rule or negotiated transitions that could maintain beneficial policies under different political arrangements. The succession planning that occupies their late evening discussions reveals the sophisticated political thinking that has characterized Hyksos' approaches to governance throughout their Egyptian experience. Rather than assuming that current arrangements will continue indefinitely, they have developed flexible strategies that could adapt to various political developments while preserving the essential achievements of their administration. Their planning also addresses the educational and cultural institutions that have been established during the Hyksos period. These institutions represent perhaps their most important legacy, as they have created capabilities and knowledge that could continue benefiting Egyptian society regardless of who exercises political authority. The systematic preservation of these achievements requires careful attention to political transitions that could either enhance or threaten their continuation. When Prince Yanasi finally retires to his own chambers, Kian continues his solitary reflections on the remarkable period of cultural transformation that his reign has witnessed. The challenges that currently threaten Hyksos authority also represent opportunities to demonstrate the resilience and adaptability that have enabled their success in governing Egyptian civilization. The king's final thoughts before sleep often return to the fundamental questions about human nature and political possibility that have guided his approach to leadership throughout his reign. His experience demonstrates that different peoples can cooperate successfully when their leaders prioritize practical benefits over ethnic prejudices, while current challenges reveal how easily such cooperation can be threatened by appeals to traditional loyalties and cultural fears. Tonight's reflections also address the spiritual dimensions of leadership that have become increasingly important to Kian as he has matured in his royal responsibilities. His prayers combine elements from various religious traditions that have influenced his understanding of divine authority and moral responsibility, while his personal relationship with the gods provides strength and guidance for facing uncertain futures. The palace grows quiet as servants complete their evening duties and guards settle into night watch routines that have maintained security throughout the Hyksos period. The darkness that surrounds Avaris contains both threats and possibilities, while the decisions made in coming days will determine whether the remarkable experiment in multicultural governance can survive its greatest test. In the residential quarters where royal family members and court officials settle into their own evening routines, similar conversations address the personal implications of political developments that could affect every aspect of their lives. These private discussions reveal the human costs of political uncertainty, while also demonstrating the resilience and adaptability that have characterized Egyptian society throughout its long history. The royal women's quarters buzz with their own evening activities that reflect the enhanced roles that females have achieved during the Hyksos period. Queen Teni leads discussions among court ladies that address both political concerns and cultural questions about the future of the social innovations that have expanded opportunities for women throughout Egyptian society. The Queen's evening conversations include detailed analysis of how political changes might affect the educational and economic opportunities that have become available to women during foreign rule. Her own experiences demonstrate the possibilities that emerge when traditional gender restrictions are relaxed in favor of merit-based advancement and cultural flexibility. Among the court ladies who participate in these evening discussions is Isis Nefret, whose family represents the Egyptian aristocracy that has adapted successfully to Hyksos rule. Her perspectives provide insights into how traditional elite families have navigated the challenges and opportunities created by foreign authority, while her personal relationships bridge the cultural boundaries that divide Egyptian society. Isis Nefret's evening activities include correspondence with relatives throughout Egyptian territory who provide information about popular sentiment and political developments in regions beyond direct Hyksos control. Her letters reveal the complex loyalties and practical considerations that influence how Egyptian families respond to competing claims for political legitimacy and cultural authenticity. The evening's correspondence also addresses commercial and family matters that illustrate how thoroughly international considerations have been integrated into Egyptian aristocratic life. Marriage negotiations involve families from multiple cultural backgrounds, while business partnerships span the trade networks that connect Egypt with kingdoms throughout the ancient world. These personal and family considerations reveal how completely the social foundations of Egyptian society have been transformed during the Hyksos period. Traditional patterns of marriage, inheritance, and social advancement have been modified to accommodate new opportunities and relationships that transcend ethnic boundaries while maintaining essential cultural continuities. In the servants' quarters and administrative offices that support royal operations, evening activities reflect the bureaucratic innovations that have enabled effective governance of Egypt's complex multicultural society. Scribes and clerks from various backgrounds collaborate in record-keeping activities that document the remarkable achievements and ongoing challenges of foreign rule. The administrative records that occupy these evening work sessions provide detailed documentation of the economic, social, and cultural changes that have occurred throughout Egyptian territory during the Hyksos period. These documents will serve as historical sources for future scholars seeking to understand how different cultures can cooperate successfully in creating beneficial political arrangements. The record-keeping activities also address immediate practical concerns about resource management, population movements, and security arrangements that require constant attention from governmental administrators. The sophistication of these administrative systems reflects the professional competence that has enabled Hyksos rule to function effectively despite its minority status among Egyptian populations. As night settles over the palace complex, the various evening activities gradually conclude as residents settle into sleep patterns that have been shaped by the cultural innovations and political uncertainties that define their historical moment. Their dreams will process the complex realities of living through a period of remarkable cultural achievement that faces serious political challenges. The night guards who maintain security throughout the palace represent the military innovations that have provided foundations for Hyksos authority in Egypt. Their professional training combines traditional Egyptian military knowledge with foreign tactical innovations that have created capabilities superior to previous Egyptian defense systems. The guards' conversations during their night watches reveal the loyalty and professional competence that characterize the military forces that protect Hyksos authority. Their discussions address both immediate security concerns and broader questions about the military preparations that might be necessary if political conditions deteriorate. Their professional analysis of potential threats demonstrates the systematic approach to security planning that has enabled foreign rulers to maintain authority over much larger indigenous populations. The intelligence networks, communication systems, and tactical innovations that support their security operations represent genuine advances in military science that have enhanced Egyptian defensive capabilities. The guards also discuss the international military developments that could affect Egyptian security during potential conflicts with southern resistance movements. Their knowledge of foreign military techniques and alliance relationships provides valuable intelligence for strategic planning that addresses both domestic and international threats. As dawn approaches, the night watch activities gradually transition to preparations for another day of governance that will test the resilience and adaptability of the Hyksos political system. The decisions made during the coming day will influence not only immediate security concerns, but also the long-term survival of the cultural innovations and social improvements that have characterized foreign rule in Egypt. The palace kitchen staff begin their early morning preparations that will feed the diverse community of residents whose daily activities sustain the complex operations of multicultural governance. Their work demonstrates the logistical capabilities that enable large-scale political institutions to function effectively while serving the practical needs of people from various cultural backgrounds. The breakfast preparations reflect the culinary innovations that have emerged from cultural exchange during the Hyksos period. Traditional Egyptian foods are prepared alongside foreign dishes that satisfy the diverse tastes and dietary requirements of palace residents whose backgrounds span the ancient world. The kitchen conversations include discussions about supply sources and quality standards that illustrate the commercial networks supporting palace operations. Ingredients arrive from across the known world through trade relationships that have been cultivated during decades of successful Hyksos administration. These logistical operations demonstrate the administrative competence that has enabled foreign rulers to maintain effective governance, despite the complex challenges of serving multicultural populations with diverse needs and expectations. The systematic attention to practical details reflects the professional standards that characterize successful Hyksos administration throughout Egyptian territory. As morning light filters through the palace windows, servants throughout the complex begin daily routines that prepare for another day of governmental activities that will determine the future of one of history's most remarkable experiments in multicultural political cooperation. The success or failure of these efforts will influence not only immediate participants, but also future generations who will inherit either the benefits of successful cultural integration or the devastation of ethnic conflict. The stirring palace gradually awakens to face challenges that will test every innovation, relationship, and achievement that has been developed during decades of foreign rule that transformed Egyptian civilization while preserving its essential character and traditions. Today's decisions will determine whether the Hyksos legacy represents a permanent contribution to human political development, or merely a temporary interruption in the long history of ethnic conflict and cultural isolation. Throughout the Delta region, similar morning preparations begin in countless homes, workshops, and fields, where ordinary people whose lives have been enhanced by cultural cooperation prepare for another day of work and social interaction that demonstrates the practical benefits of multicultural societies. Their daily activities provide powerful testimony to the human possibilities that emerge when different peoples choose cooperation over conflict and mutual enrichment over cultural isolation. The morning sun rises over an Egypt that has been transformed by foreign rule into something unprecedented in human history. A society that successfully combines respect for traditional values with openness to beneficial innovations. A political system that serves diverse populations while maintaining social cohesion. And a cultural environment that celebrates both local heritage and international connections. Whether these achievements can survive the challenges ahead remains to be determined by the courage, wisdom, and commitment of people who have learned to see diversity as strength rather than weakness. Strength rather than weakness. The morning sun illuminates the training grounds where young Egyptian and Canaanite soldiers practice the revolutionary military techniques that have given Hyksos forces their decisive advantages over traditional Egyptian armies. Here, beneath the watchful eye of General Kiti, a veteran commander whose tactical innovations have redefined ancient warfare, recruits learn to coordinate the horse-drawn chariots and bronze weapons that represent a complete transformation in military thinking. Keti's morning inspection reveals the systematic approach to military innovation that has enabled a relatively small foreign population to maintain control over Egypt's vast territories. The training regimens he has developed combine traditional Egyptian discipline with Canaanite mobility tactics and Mesopotamian siege techniques, creating hybrid military capabilities that surpass anything achieved by single cultural traditions operating independently. The chariot formations that practice in the dusty courtyard represent perhaps the most visible symbol of Hyksos' military revolution. These vehicles, drawn by horses bred from northern stock and reinforced with bronze fittings that reflect metallurgical advances from across the ancient world, have fundamentally altered the nature of battlefield engagement throughout the region. Young Amenhotep, an Egyptian recruit whose father serves in the palace administration, guides his chariot through complex maneuvers that would have been impossible for traditional Egyptian infantry formations. His training includes not only driving techniques, but also archery skills that enable him to fire composite bows while maintaining vehicle control at high speeds across difficult terrain. Working alongside Amenhotep is Reshef, a Canaanite soldier whose family arrived in Egypt during the early years of foreign settlement. Their partnership reflects the military integration that has created army units more effective than either culture could have produced independently, while their personal friendship demonstrates the social bonds that transcend ethnic boundaries throughout Hyksos military forces. The morning's training exercises include coordination drills that require precise communication between chariot crews and supporting infantry units. These exercises demonstrate the tactical sophistication that has developed under Hyksos military leadership, creating capabilities for complex battlefield operations that utilize the strengths of different military traditions while compensating for their individual weaknesses. General Ketty's observations during these training sessions reflect decades of experience in developing military techniques that serve the unique requirements of governing a multicultural empire. His innovations address not only tactical effectiveness, but also the political challenges of maintaining loyalty among troops whose ethnic backgrounds span the ancient world. The weapons training that follows the chariot exercises reveals the technological advances that have revolutionized Egyptian military capabilities during the Hyksos period. Bronze swords forged according to improved metallurgical techniques offer superior strength and flexibility compared to traditional Egyptian weapons, while composite bows provide range and penetrating power that give Hyksos archers decisive advantages in battlefield encounters. Amenhotep's weapons instruction includes training with siege equipment that reflects engineering knowledge gathered from multiple cultural sources. The catapults and battering rams that his unit learns to operate incorporate design principles that have been adapted from Mesopotamian siege warfare while utilizing Egyptian engineering skills for construction and maintenance. The afternoon's military exercises shift to mock battle scenarios that test the recruit's ability to coordinate different types of units in complex tactical situations. These exercises reveal the strategic thinking that has enabled Hyksos military forces to maintain superiority despite numerical disadvantages against potential Egyptian resistance movements. During these mock battles, Reshef demonstrates the cavalry tactics that have given Hyksos forces their reputation for battlefield mobility and rapid response capabilities. His unit's ability to strike quickly at vulnerable points while avoiding direct confrontation with larger enemy formations reflects the asymmetric warfare principles that have proven essential for maintaining foreign authority over indigenous populations. The evening's military instruction includes intelligence gathering techniques that prepare soldiers for the reconnaissance and surveillance activities essential for maintaining security in a potentially hostile environment. These skills reflect the sophisticated understanding of information warfare that has enabled Hyksos administrators to anticipate and counter threats to their authority. Amenhotep's intelligence training includes lessons in reading terrain, identifying potential ambush sites, and communicating tactical information through coded signals that can coordinate military responses across extended distances. His education in these specialized skills prepares him for leadership roles that could prove crucial if political tensions escalate into open conflict. The military training facilities where these activities occur reflect the infrastructure investments that have supported Hyksos military capabilities throughout their rule in Egypt. The barracks, armories, and practice areas represent systematic approaches to military preparation that have created professional fighting forces capable of addressing multiple types of security challenges. The evening's conclusion brings military personnel together for social activities that strengthen unit cohesion while maintaining the cultural connections that enrich their personal lives. These gatherings include both Egyptian and foreign soldiers, whose conversations reveal the professional bonds and mutual respect that characterize successful multicultural military organizations. The discussions that fill these evening military gatherings address both technical aspects of their training and broader questions about their role in protecting the multicultural society that has emerged under Hyksos rule. Their conversations demonstrate genuine appreciation for the opportunities and improvements that foreign leadership has created for people from all cultural backgrounds. As night settles over the military compounds, Soldiers from various backgrounds settle into sleeping quarters that reflect the integration policies that have created effective fighting forces from diverse ethnic sources. Their shared experiences of training and preparation create bonds of loyalty that transcend traditional cultural divisions while serving the common goal of protecting Egyptian prosperity and stability. In the naval facilities along the Mediterranean coast, similar scenes of military innovation unfold as Egyptian and Canaanite sailors master the maritime techniques that have extended Hyksos influence throughout the eastern Mediterranean. The harbours of Avaris have become centres for naval development that combines Egyptian river navigation expertise with Canaanite knowledge of seagoing vessel construction and operation. Captain Seneb, an Egyptian naval officer whose family has served pharaohs for generations, oversees training programs that prepare crews for the expanded maritime operations that support Hyksos commercial and diplomatic activities throughout the ancient world. His morning inspections reveal ships that represent technological fusion at its most sophisticated level. The vessels anchored in Avaris harbour combine Egyptian boat-building traditions with foreign innovations that have created ships capable of extended voyages across open water. These maritime capabilities have enabled Hyksos Egypt to maintain direct commercial and diplomatic relationships with kingdoms that previous Egyptian dynasties could reach only through intermediaries. The morning's naval training includes navigation instruction that utilizes astronomical knowledge gathered from across the ancient world. Young Egyptian sailors learn to use star charts that incorporate Mesopotamian celestial observations, while Canaanite techniques for reading wind patterns and ocean currents enhance their ability to navigate safely across unfamiliar waters. Among the naval trainees is Kamwasit, whose education includes languages that enable him to communicate with foreign port authorities and commercial representatives throughout the Mediterranean region. His linguistic skills reflect the international orientation that has characterized Hyksos naval development and enabled Egyptian ships to operate effectively in distant waters. The afternoon's naval exercises include combat training that prepares crews for the maritime conflicts that could arise from increased international tensions. These training sessions demonstrate tactical innovations that have adapted land-based military techniques for naval warfare, creating capabilities that enhance Egyptian security throughout the eastern Mediterranean. Captain Seneb's tactical instruction includes lessons in coordinated fleet operations that utilize the communication systems and command structures necessary for complex maritime campaigns. His experience reflects the strategic thinking that has enabled Hyksos naval forces to project Egyptian influence far beyond traditional geographical boundaries. The naval facilities that support these training activities represent infrastructure investments that have transformed Egyptian maritime capabilities during the foreign dynasty's rule. The shipyards, supply depots, and repair facilities demonstrate systematic approaches to naval development that have created professional maritime forces capable of supporting expanded international relationships. The evening's naval activities include maintenance work that keeps the fleet ready for immediate deployment if political conditions require military responses to external threats. This maintenance work reflects the technical competence that has been developed throughout Egyptian naval forces during the Hyksos period. The conversations that fill the naval quarters during evening hours reveal the professional pride and international awareness that characterize contemporary Egyptian maritime personnel. Their discussions address both technical aspects of naval operations and broader questions about their role in maintaining the commercial relationships that have made Egypt prosperous during foreign rule. As night descends over the coastal facilities, naval personnel settle into quarters that reflect the multicultural composition of Hyksos maritime forces. Their shared experiences of training and service create professional relationships that transcend ethnic boundaries while serving the common goal of protecting Egyptian interests throughout the Mediterranean world. In the diplomatic quarters of Avaris, evening activities reveal another dimension of Hyksos innovation as foreign ministry officials prepare for negotiations that will determine whether current political tensions can be resolved through peaceful means rather than military confrontation. The diplomatic corps that has emerged during foreign rule represents unprecedented capabilities for international negotiation and conflict resolution. Ambassador Katie, an Egyptian diplomat whose career has flourished under Hyksos administration, reviews correspondence from kingdoms throughout the ancient world that could influence the developing crisis with southern Egyptian resistance movements. His evening preparations demonstrate the sophisticated diplomatic machinery that has maintained peaceful relationships despite complex international tensions. The diplomatic intelligence that occupies Katie's evening work includes detailed analysis of foreign court politics and military capabilities that could affect Egyptian security during potential conflicts. His understanding of these international factors reflects the systematic intelligence gathering that has supported successful Hyksos foreign policy throughout their rule. Among the diplomatic personnel who assist with these preparations is Ankh Efen Sekhmet, a young Egyptian whose training includes the multiple languages and cultural competencies essential for effective international negotiation. His education reflects the expanded opportunities that have become available to talented Egyptians during the foreign dynasty's administration. The evening's diplomatic activities include preparation of negotiation strategies that could address southern resistance concerns, while preserving the essential achievements of Hyksos rule. These strategies require sophisticated understanding of both Egyptian cultural sensitivities and international political dynamics that could influence any negotiated settlement. Ambassador Katie's diplomatic experience includes successful resolution of previous crises that threaten to disrupt the peaceful coexistence that has characterized the Hyksos period. His methods demonstrate how skilled negotiation can address ethnic tensions and competing political claims without resorting to military solutions that could destroy the prosperity and cultural achievements that benefit all participants. The diplomatic correspondence that fills his evening work includes communications with foreign kingdoms that could either support Egyptian resistance movements or help mediate peaceful solutions to developing conflicts. The international relationships that have been cultivated during Hyksos rule provide resources for conflict resolution that were unavailable to previous Egyptian dynasties. The evening's diplomatic preparations also address the commercial and cultural factors that could influence political negotiations. The economic benefits that have resulted from Hyksos innovations provide powerful arguments for maintaining current systems, while the social relationships that have developed across cultural boundaries create constituencies for peaceful coexistence. As midnight approaches, the diplomatic quarters grow quiet as personnel complete their preparations for negotiations that could determine whether the remarkable experiment in multicultural governance can survive its greatest challenge. Their work demonstrates the sophisticated capabilities that have been developed for managing complex international relationships through peaceful means rather than military force. Throughout Avaris, the various evening activities gradually conclude as residents of the multicultural capital prepare for sleep that will restore their energy for facing the challenges of another day. The conversations, preparations, and quiet reflections that have filled their evening hours reveal the depth of commitment and sophistication that characterizes Egyptian society during this period of foreign rule. The night sounds that fill the sleeping city include languages from across the ancient world, while the dreams that occupy unconscious minds process the complex realities of living through a period of remarkable cultural achievement that faces uncertain political challenges. The innovations and relationships that have been developed during the Hyksos period represent genuine advances in human, political, and social organization that could influence civilization for generations to come. The palace guards who maintain security throughout the night hours represent the professional military capabilities that have provided foundations for peaceful cultural development during foreign rule. Their vigilance protects not only political leaders, but also the broader social achievements that have emerged from successful multicultural cooperation. In the residential districts that surround the palace complex, families from various cultural backgrounds settle into homes that reflect the architectural innovations and social arrangements that have emerged during the Hyksos period. Their domestic routines demonstrate how completely cultural integration has been achieved at the most fundamental levels of daily life. The bedtime conversations that conclude each family's day include discussions about children's educational progress in programs that prepare them for lives that will require international awareness and cultural flexibility. Parents share expectations for their children's futures that assume opportunities created by the expanded horizons that characterize contemporary Egyptian society. Family prayers that end the day reflect the religious synthesis that has developed throughout Hyksos, Egypt. Households honor both traditional Egyptian deities and foreign spiritual traditions, creating worship practices that satisfy complex cultural identities while maintaining genuine religious conviction and community participation. The night sky above Avaris contains the same stars that have witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations throughout human history. While this particular period represents unique achievements in cultural cooperation and political innovation, the challenges that currently threaten these achievements also provide opportunities to demonstrate the resilience and adaptability that have enabled their creation. Tomorrow will bring new tests of the wisdom, courage, and commitment that have made possible the remarkable transformation of Egyptian civilization during the Hyksos period. The decisions made in coming days will determine whether humanity's capacity for positive change through cultural cooperation can overcome the ethnic prejudices and traditional loyalties that threaten to destroy one of history's most successful experiments in multicultural governance. The peaceful sleep that settles over the transformed capital represents both the security and prosperity that have been achieved through foreign innovation and the fragile nature of human progress when confronted by forces that prioritize cultural purity over practical effectiveness. The morning will reveal whether the seeds of conflict can be contained, or whether they will grow into the devastation that has destroyed so many previous attempts at building better societies through cooperation rather than conquest. The dawn light filtering through the royal bedchamber reveals scrolls scattered across cedar tables, their papyrus surfaces covered with reports that will determine the fate of the Hyksos dynasty. King Apophis, successor to the great Kian, awakens to intelligence that changes everything. The Theban prince Kamose has declared open rebellion, proclaiming himself the rightful pharaoh of a unified Egypt that will cast out the foreign rulers forever. As Apophis rises from his sleeping couch, the weight of this moment settles upon his shoulders, like the heavy ceremonial cloak of Egyptian kingship. His morning ablutions are interrupted by the arrival of General Yanasi, whose weathered face carries news that confirms their worst fears. The southern armies are marching north with unprecedented coordination, their ranks swelled by Egyptians who have grown weary of foreign rule despite its prosperity. The breakfast that servants lay before the king remains untouched as he studies military dispatches that describe Theban forces equipped with weapons and tactics learned from observing Hyksos innovations. The very chariots and bronze weapons that had given his ancestors their initial advantages have now been adopted by their enemies, eliminating the technological superiority that had made foreign rule possible. As the morning sun rises over a transformed Egypt, we witness the final chapter of one of history's most remarkable experiments in cultural fusion and political innovation. The Hyksos, those foreign kings who had woven themselves so skillfully into the fabric of Egyptian civilization, now face the inevitable reckoning that comes to all who dare to bridge the ancient divides between peoples. Their legacy lives on in the innovations they brought, the trade networks they established, and the countless ordinary families whose lives were enriched by choosing cooperation over conflict. In the end, the Hyksos taught us that true conquest comes not through force alone, but through the patient work of building bridges between different worlds, creating something entirely new while honoring what came before.